Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LightBringers podcast, where we talk about Guild Wars 2 and the features within it, but also other MMORPGs that may be involved. If you would like to help us defeat the algorithm and be seen in very many different places, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for this video. And comment and tell us how awesome we look, or how awesome our characters look, or how awesome we sound, or just how generally awesome we are. You may also do that. I'm not good at these intros. Intros. Should I start again?
Oh jeez.
I'll start again. No, I think I have to keep it every time.
Freudian slip if I ever heard one.
A lot of things happened.
It's just been a week, okay? It's been a week. How are we doing, everyone in the chat? I hope you're good. We are doing this live on twitch.tv/JebroUnity every week-ish. Thank you. See, look, someone said it in the chat. They said you are awesome. There we go. 12 p.m. Pacific-ish. Sometimes. We're in Lion's Arch right now. I might show people's faces here first, though, because there is Rookery, there is Fornax, and there is Boots as well.
Hello.
You can do a face.
Hi. Oh, is it time to talk?
Oh,
Yes.
hi. Oh, hi. Hey, everybody. Hi.
Hey,
Hello. Hi. Hey. Oh, hi.
Fornax
Hey.
is back as well as Rookery being back. So it's good to see you both. Hello. I'm just
How was
torturing
vacation,
them.
by the way, Rook?
It was good until the tail end of it, where even though we were with close family at a remote lake house, we got exposed to COVID. So that was not so great. And unfortunately, my
boy.
partner has been sick since we got back with
Oh
it.
no.
So we've been
No.
masking in the house, and I'm hoping I don't catch it. It's been a rough time for them.
That's gonna be
but
tough. Yeah.
yeah, the rest of the week was really good though. And I missed you all. I'm so glad to be back
did.
this week.
The
Yeah.
face. And also, Fornax is back, and I'm sorry about your partner having COVID as well. Send them our best wishes, our LightBringer wishes. I don't know what that means. So Fornax, how are you doing? What's going on?
Hi, I'm good. I've actually made a video, so please go and watch that on my channel.
Yay.
It's a legendary video about Guild Wars 2 versus Final Fantasy 14 versus WoW, and why Guild Wars 2 has objectively the best legendary / endgame gear in the
Yeah.
MMO gaming multiverse. So
And I
come
think
at
we all
me.
agree with that.
Come at me, bitches.
Yeah, but you've been-
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Wow. You've. But at the same time, I don't think anyone has actually said anything like bad in the comments of that video, because I've been watching as well. And it's been
But
like,
you also definitely say subjectively the best.
yeah, you do.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's
right.
in writing, like scrolling writing on the screen. I'm not pulling my punches.
Yeah.
That's true.
I thought your analysis on that was very accurate, and I'm excited to talk about it today with everybody because, yeah, Legendaries and Guild Wars 2 are a pretty huge thing, and I do think that they are. Having played all those games myself and others, I think they are some of the best out there in MMOs right now.
What do you mean some of the best? I thought it's the best.
The best, I would
Yeah.
say personally.
There you go.
Although there are, maybe some other discussions about different weapons in other games, but no, I think that they are honestly.
Are you hedging when you should be definitive about
Oh my
this?
gosh, Boots! I just got back from vacation. Boots,
And
I did
and
not
Rick's
come
being,
back.
yeah. It's
no,
okay.
I mean, good point. I think as creators, even as Fornax did, we always try to avoid, well, not all of us, but those of us who are conscious of this, try to avoid making any statements that discredit other people and their opinions and desires on things. Like, you might like something better than somebody else. You might like this system better than something else. But I think the Legendaries and Guild Wars 2 are truly legendary.
Oh.
You are allowed to disagree with me, contrary to popular belief.
Oh
You
no,
are.
they're awful. They're so bad. We're dedicating an entire podcast to them. That's what we're gonna do. I have.
I'll go one step.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. We have indeed got Fornax's video in the background as well. If you're watching on video-wise, I will chuck a link in the description as well for that, I think, so that you can check. I'll check it in the comments, actually, because it's likely to get more clicks there. But check it out. Should be below. In the description somewhere. Blah, blah, blah. Also, just go to their channel and subscribe and do the things and like, so you can go and watch the video. I watched the video before I came on. Very good. Very true. Lots of talk about the... Also, just generally about like gear treadmill in Guild Wars 2 as well. It's not really a treadmill. It's more of like a, you know, kind of
A gear
comfortable,
staircase
nice walk in the
that
park.
has an end to it.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way of describing it.
I actually like that. The staircase metaphor is very good.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, compared to other games with the traditional kind of loot treadmill, you do get, if you want to have player skill be supreme, be the kind of the roadway to success, Guild Wars 2 is the closest to that you'll find, I think.
Very true. Very true indeed. Let me just link this now in the chat. I'm going to do it for everyone who's here live right now. So, what we're going to do...
here too.
Yeah, but they're back. They're just coming back. Like, all right, do you want me to talk about you as well?
No, that's okay. Go ahead. I don't care.
Oh, no. Let's take a second. Let's
We
talk
didn't
about
do
things.
we're not doing an intro.
Oh, that's different. Okay, all right, we're good.
All right, we can do an intro if you want.
Boots recently had a great video come out, which
Yes.
I watched and loved.
Fisherman Boots.
Which is the actual journey some of you may have been hearing about. Maybe you talked about this last week. I don't know. I wasn't here, so it's all news to me.
I don't know.
But some of you might have been hearing about Boots' fishing journey, leveling a character. We've talked about it on and off on the podcast, solely through fishing, purely fishing leveling. And Boots finally completed the journey and did a YouTube video about it. So check that out.
That's right.
Wow.
And I made videography montages for the first 2 minutes of the video, and I liked them.
Oh yeah, we were talking because we talked about this last week. We said like the first 2 minutes to the 3 minutes of
Yeah,
video
I
you
worked
really
hard on
like.
the first 2 minutes of the 20-minute video.
All right, I'll have that in the background for a little bit just to make sure that people see it. Okay, so what we're doing today is, and Boots, good job, well done on the video, excellent work. Thank you so much. Make sure you check out those stuff. Also, make sure you check out Rookery stuff as well. If you want it, let's do a little mini intro. Do it very quick. Channel, where you do it, where to do the things. Rookery, what do you do?
Goodness, Jebro.
Words
Hi,
are hard.
everyone. I'm Rook, aka Rookery. You can find me on twitch.tv, Rookery, ROOKURI. You can also find me on YouTube, and we're going to have more of my End of Dragons playthrough going up soon, since we are about to finally finish the Endwalker playthrough portions that we had. And you can find me on Twitter at Rookery_. Let's see, next week, I have some sponsored streams and some other shenanigans that are happening, some of which Jebro might be involved with here. So if you're around next week, which will be the week of August 15th, tune in live on Twitch for some bonus sponsored streams, show some support, and we'll have some other fun stuff that's going to be going on, some special events.
That sounds fun. I'm gonna join you, but not on stream, obviously. Just to go to the stream and watch it.
Maybe you can retweet and like them as well.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Do
Or
that
you
as
know,
well.
Boots, maybe
Everyone
Boots,
can.
you'll just show up, you'll somehow hack the Discord call, you'll just be there, and that'd be fine too. Yeah, you know, we'll make it work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Definitely need a shots fired button.
Fornax, yes you do. You've got the graphic on your new video. Fornax, tell us what you do, where you do it, and hello. Yeah.
Hello. I make YouTube content for Guild Wars 2 and other MMOs, and if you search for the Crichton Herald, I'm pretty much everywhere. So that's me. Please go and watch my video. Thank you. That's it. Carry on.
I'm everywhere, and the Crichton Herald, you just should know me at this point. But you know, if you go on the internet, I am all over it. I really liked that. I thought it was a good, confident assertion at the end. I liked it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good stuff.
I mean, I meant just like type in the Crichton Herald. I mean, nobody knows who I am. It's wonderful anonymity, but if you just type that, you'll get to me.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. Yeah. Still retaining some humility here. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I can
Carry
tell.
on.
I can tell. And then last but not least, Boots, aka World of
I
Vendors.
thought I did mine already.
You can do it again, quick. What's your YouTube channel and Twitch? Because you Twitch sometimes as well.
Oh yeah. So my YouTube channel is World Avengers. Capital W, a small O, then an R, L D, no space, but then there's an O F, no space, ENDERS, and my which is
Jesus.
Keep
Boots.
going.
Boots, BOOTTS _ and then my Twitter is also World Avengers. I don't think I need to spell that again because
No, I missed it the first time. Can you please respell it?
Okay, that's capital. Actually, I don't know if you need to put capital.
We're not watching Boots' video anymore. I'm done.
No.
We're not watching it anymore. I'm done.
But yeah. I for about 4 months I was a Guild Wars 2 fishing YouTube and streamer, and now I'm back on the
fishing streamer.
and now I'm back on the legendary grind. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so like that's a good intro. So first of all, is everyone on some kind of legendary journey right now? Is anyone making anything?
Yes.
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 What are you all making right now? Rookery first.
I'm making my first ever, or at least first ever that I have made going through the traditional legendary process. I've had people be like, don't you technically have Twilight? Yes, but that was gifted to me for my birthday. It was a great stream. Our community member set up a whole RP event where we went on a quest and forged it. It was very fun. Yes, but I didn't make it with my own two hands, and then I did do the return too. So technically, again, got a legendary from that. But this is the first legendary that I've made of my own volition, from scratch, just doing it. And I'm working currently on the Gen 3 Oreen's Greatsword. So I'm very excited.
Very nice. Very nice. So you're going to be able to become, like, if you're a Mesmer or a Guardian, you'll be able to dual wield legendary greatswords.
I will, yeah. This is my dream. I'm hoping that we got, double swords for Willbender, but I'm hoping that next time around for Guardian, we'll get double great swords, maybe triple great swords, and then you can wield it. Yeah. Yes, one in your teeth, just like One Piece. Thank you. You and I, for all of your sass in me today, Boots, we're also on the same wavelength. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that, so it'll be good.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, the greatsword, the legendary greatsword is pretty. I'm gonna bring it up on screen as well so you can all see. But yeah, it's a beautiful greatsword. And this is your first one. So where are you at in this journey? You just started, you kind of...
I am almost done with step 2. As I've been codifying it, I'm almost done with, I guess technically this is always kind of hard to talk about because they're really the step are all these different pieces of big collections. So I'm currently on the first portion, but I did all the map completion, and then I'm working right now on the 100 Jadestone, 100 Ambergris, that kind of category. But I think we just finished that, so I need to actually go and dump it all in. But I think we got the last Ambergris that we needed on stream, so we'll do that next.
Were you gathering that stuff straight up, or were you gonna buy the stuff that's purchasable on the Great Gem Store, or not the Gem Store, the trading post?
I've just been gathering it. I think a lot of it too is that I knew I wanted to make a legendary, so even though I wasn't going as hard as some people, I think the one area that I really fell behind was the antique summoning stones, because I didn't realize and had not looked into the fact that you can buy them directly from that vendor each week, and you can get 5 of them. But I mean, I had been running the metas and I'd been doing the content and exploring the maps just as it was and harvesting the nodes, because you kind of get into the vibe of just doing that in general in Guild Wars 2. You know that if there's a special currency node from a map, you should probably just get it because something's going to come from it at some point. So I was already kind of doing that stuff and picking from various satchels and things. This said it was a legendary crafting ingredient. Great, that one. I'm going to use that one. So I had a bit of an advantage in that regard, but then I've also had a wonderful community member that's been running around with me on stream. Gave me a few extra antique summoning stones, thanks Masika, those sorts of things. But otherwise, I've been just gathering it. Yeah,
that's okay.
I didn't want to spend gold on this step yet.
That's fair enough.
That's fair.
These are good looking weapons, actually. Hammer's really nice as well. Okay, so you're kind of at that step. You've not hit the research notes step yet. Okay, cool.
No,
Next.
not yet.
Well, research notes aren't that stupid. Like, it's not that hard to get research notes.
They are, as you get used to it, they are not too bad, especially if you've been doing this event as well. And like, actually, the Festival of the Four Winds is really, really good for legendary farming, like just for items, like just for getting, Gift of Claws, all that kind of stuff. So if you're doing like Gen 1 as well, I think you still need that for the... Actually, I don't know what you need. I can't remember what you need for Orin. I made one.
I feel like the research notes were actually a very clever implementation by ArenaNet to increase the value of crafted gear.
Maybe.
Because it's been, you can't sell crafted gear for the cost it is to make it these days. Like or you used to not be able to before the expansion. Because you could get gear so easily otherwise, exotic gear. So yeah, I think it was smart to try to make crafting more worthwhile these days.
Actually, a really good point. We've talked a lot about maybe how many, like the quantity of them. We've talked about maybe some of the restrictions about how some gear seems like it should be eligible for research notes and isn't, and stuff like that. But as just like a general baseline, I do think, like you said, it was actually a clever way to address something that had been devalued or happened in the game. I think that maybe there's still some refinement to keep going into that process, but I'm kind of nervous about when I get to that step. But I think that at this point, most people have figured it out, so hopefully it won't be too bad.
Yeah, there's loads of guides and stuff, and honestly, like you can just make stuff where you have all of the spare materials, like that you never use, and you can do that. Like you can make mithril accessories and earrings out of like those random things that you just deposit forever and never use. So it's totally doable. And if you've got ascended gear. Like if you've got an ascended greatsword, just use that. Like if you've got extended gear you don't use, just change the stats and it's all good. Anyway, legendary podcast back, but it is part of it. Okay, so that is the greatsword underway for Rookery. What are you making for an axe at the moment? Because you've got a lot of legendaries as well, but what are you making at the moment?
I only have 3 legendary weapons.
Okay, I thought you had loads of them.
Oh God, no. Those are on the test realms. All the footage that you see on there is
Oh, okay.
that's I jump on, I grab the
make
footage.
each legendary in order to show it off your fans? You don't?
Awesome.
No, I only buy the mount skins, which just costs me hundreds of pounds. That I totally did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I've got 3 legendaries.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
And what are you
And
up
I'm
to next?
I'm working on the World v World legendary armors.
Okay. You've been saying that you've been loving some World v World recently. That's cool. So
I should mention that I'm working on PvE legendary armor too.
Oh, okay, cool.
Remember.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll get through to the journey of that then, and we'll start. Then you can both talk about it because I've got that as well, and PvEP 2 versions. But like, what's the?
How many tickets do you have so far?
Me.
Yes.
Oh my God. So I still need. I've actually spent a lot of them because I've kind of bulked in on the things that I have to buy in order to craft the pieces.
Okay.
It's a very convoluted system. Right now, I've got enough to craft a single piece, but I've got in the wings all the rest of the bits where I'm just waiting to gather the tickets. So it's like a conveyor belt to do them.
Yeah. So you've got like
1,400
tickets, at least.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, got it.
I mean, I've spent so many. If you don't mind me
asking, what level World versus World are you at now?
Oh, I'm a complete scrud. I'm like
okay. So it's a real grind for you then.
Yeah. I'm coming up to just the end of the bronze, so it's I'm properly I haven't done a huge amount of it.
Okay, yeah, because the higher level you are, just so the people in the audience know, the higher level you are, the faster the reward tracks go for skirmish tickets. And so basically, if you're just starting out trying to get legendary armor from World versus World, it's slower to get it than it is if you were an avid World versus Worlder, which is kind of interesting and sad for people who haven't done World versus World before. But yeah, okay, good on you. I respect that.
I'm doing it with my my guild. I've got a family member who plays. She's like a platinum raider. That's basically her entire existence in Guild Wars 2 has been doing World v World raids every single day, and I go with her in the Brotherhood of Blob guild, which is specifically does raids every day, and that's what I do. I just haven't been for a few months because I've been like crashing and burning in my mental health, but I've rallied now, so I'm getting back to work and I'm doing all sorts of things and I'm getting back into that. So
Nice.
yay!
Okay.
The world is burning. I am no longer. Hooray! Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad that's the case. That you're not burning.
Just my memory cards. That's it. Just the.
Okay. Yeah. We can talk about that later if you want. I mean, this is a podcast. We're all we've all got our things going on, and I get that for sure. I'm glad you're here.
Sorry.
And I'm glad you're with us. No, sorry at all. You're always welcome to talk about the stuff.
I'm super honest, so don't ask me anything you really don't want an answer to.
Oh yeah, please don't talk about mental health on a stream that's run by a mental health counselor. Please don't do that. It sounds like a very horrible thing to do. Okay. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that you are feeling better. I will say better with inverted commas. But we are glad you're here. So
thank you.
Cheers. I appreciate you. Legendary armor is a fun one. We'll talk about that more when we get to it, actually, because there's a lot to it. I'm showing all the armor off, and I realized that my die is currently all over the shop right now, and it doesn't look too legendary. It kind of looks like party wear. If you go into like a happy hardcore night somewhere, I don't know, it's just like, if anyone knows what happy hardcore is, it's a 90s thing, I guess, 2000s. But yeah, legendary armor is awesome and is definitely worth going for if you've ever gone for it. It's definitely more of a journey, but you can make piece by piece. I didn't make piece by piece. I made it all at the same time. I was like, if I'm going to wear it, I'm going to wear it all at the same time. I was like, no, can't do that. But there are different looks there. We're going to get around to that. So Boots is going for also armor as well, and I believe is...
Actually, I can do that right now on stream.
He's going to craft one piece on stream, yeah. Which piece are you crafting?
I am going to craft... I have also been doing the World versus World grind. My level, I think, is slightly higher than yours, so I've been getting a little bit faster. And I don't know if you do this, but I have been like using the way the reward structure works to my advantage by like attacking camps and then being able to do other things at the same time, and then attacking camps and being able to do other things at the same time.
Okay, so you're doing more than one event at once.
Yeah.
So no, that's not, everyone does it.
So
everyone probably does that, mate. It's fine.
Yeah. So I got stuff. So I'm gonna ping it to you, Jebro.
Okay.
The stuff I have in my inventory. Let's see. Is that button?
You got memories of battle, certificates of Jesus. Certificates of Jesus. I remember that one being a requirement. That was a high level one. You're gonna believe first. Certificates of honor. Sorry. Certificate of honor. Triumphant Heroes Brigand. So you need the Ascended piece first as well. You can't see it on the stream, I'm sorry. So you do need the Ascended piece. So you upgrade the Ascended piece. And you need the Legendary War Insight, which is the Eldritch Scroll, Obsidian Shards, the Cube Stabilized Dark Energy, and then and the Gift of all of those fun things. Yeah, then Heroics, yay.
So I'm currently... what am I supposed to press here?
How many clovers do you need? It's only 15.
Only 15 clovers per piece.
Okay. Oh yeah, so it adds up to about that in the end. Okay, 70.
Yeah, and so I have now put a bunch of things into the Mystic Forge, combined a few of those things. So now
and you got all the gifts. See, that's the gifts. You need all the gifts of Metal, Blood, Bones, and all that kind of stuff. So this is where Festival of the Four Winds is really, really good at the moment, because you can get all of that stuff there, because you've got the different zones, so you can get all of that if you're trying to get it.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna quickly get the last one.
Which piece are you going for? Chest?
Yeah, chest piece.
Yeah, good.
Because I have enough stuff for 5 pieces of armor for PvP.
Right.
If I get the lower cost ones. So I'm going to get the chest and the pants for 2 different armor sets. I'm going to mix and match so that it's less costly for me for 2 different armor sets. So now we've got this going on. And I believe those are the last 4 things I need. Okay. Here we go. Double click, double click, double click, double click. Oh, baby. Triumphant's Hero Brigandine.
You have to put it on and link it?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Which is actually made into a legendary piece of... Is this your first piece of armor ever?
Oh, I can't put it on. This is a character that is... Not
the right armor.
Not the right armor. I'm gonna switch characters. I'll be right back.
All right.
So one of the cool things about this legendary armor, and maybe this is a good time to talk about this though, right? So we just talked a little bit about legendary journeys that we're on. But I mean, one of the things about this is that I'm curious to hear everybody's discussion about, I guess, how you even like find, start, and set out on a legendary journey. Because for those of you who can't see what's happening right now, because obviously we're through Jebro's cam and stuff like that, the legendary armor is essentially a set of achievement collections, right? I mean, depending on what you're doing. So like when I was getting ready to start the PvE ones, I actually think somebody in our raid group just said like, hey, we're already running these raids every week. How many of you haven't done your legendary armor yet? And I was like, me. And so we went into it to start this, and a lot of the stuff you can do in like, you know, either open world stuff with meta things. There's a lot of things that are tied to the raids themselves. And so I almost had to have somebody kind of prompt me into that and then find the collections and then start working through them as a group to get into it. But how did everybody else like find out about... It's a little different between the legendary weapons and the legendary armor. These are technically both still legendaries, but did you find that like the game prompted you into it? Was it other people talking about it? Was it the fact that you knew about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the first time I thought about legendary things was when the legendary weapons first came out, when like a month into the game, essentially. Well, they were always in the game, but you only really saw anyone with one maybe a month into the game. And so then I was like, hey, what's this? How do you get it, etc. And then it was kind of ubiquitous to me. Like, you know, it was always a thing that existed. And then when they announced legendary armor, you've kind of figured out from their press release of how to get it. But anytime I want to make legendary anything, basically my first step is go to the wiki.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much of the game is contained on the wiki. Of how to do things. It's a lot easier to check the wiki to learn how to do things than it is to look at achievements that may or may not be unlocked in game. Yeah,
that's fair. And what
I don't
about
know
you?
If that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably it's not a great thing, but
well, that makes sense. I mean, like, I think I don't know if Rook was talking specifically about armor or weapons or whatever, but like, I think, you know, that goes to at the launch of the game. And you played since launch as well, didn't you, Fornax? So you must remember the first time you maybe saw a legendary, and we didn't know specifically, because legendaries weren't a big selling point of the game at the time. Like, do you remember like seeing someone with legendary and thinking, oh, I want like kind of like boots? Like, how did you? That's a good question, Rook, as well.
Yeah. I think I saw someone, I think it was in old LA, and I saw someone with a Bifrost, and I was like, oh my god, that is beautiful. And it was that kind of aspirational moment where I wanted the shiny thing, and that's how I started. But I mean, the whole legendary armor thing for me is actually very practical. So as much as I think that the armors are beautiful, because there is the same, in terms of gameplay, Ascended gear is exactly the same. You just don't have the utility. So for me, the main reason that I'm crafting all this armor is to get round transmutation charges, because as a PvE casual player, they're very hard to get, so that I can make more content as a content creator for Fashion Wars. That's it.
All right.
Right?
Fair.
So that's super practical. Are they fun? Yes. Are they aspirational? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think people should do them for that alone? Yeah. For me, I'm a bit of a lazy person. You know?
Yeah.
You stifled yourself there.
Mine is a very similar reason to yours.
Thank you.
Person.
Mine is a very similar reason to yours, but instead of for Fashion Wars, it's for build making. Like I've got a lot of characters, and I go through a lot of builds while trying stuff out. And legendary armor is. I've spent so much gold over the years just buying exotic stuff, destroying it, buying runes, destroying them.
You
just
probably
like
spent
over
more
and over
money
again.
than you did. Maybe.
Oh, for sure. I probably could have made like 4 legendary sets of things over the years if I had not done just like buying exotic stuff and destroying it over the years. But so yeah, it is very functional for me as well.
Oh, Rook maybe.
Hyper utility. Sorry.
Rook actually may be frozen right now. It's true.
She's just typed in our chat that they had a power flicker and her PC is restarting, so she's going to be getting back in as soon as she can.
She always does look quite calm, but like I didn't notice for a good second there until someone said it in the chat, and I was like, no, like Rook just listening. And then like all of a sudden. There isn't that natural. You know, when you look at characters in the game, they're doing that breathing thing with their shoulders are like moving. You know, I'll make it a smaller video, so it's not as obvious. But yeah, I think that is. Oh, it may not be great for a second. I'm sorry. It'll be fine.
You've bifurcated me.
I know.
You bastard.
It's good.
I am bifurcated.
It's gonna be fine. I don't know what that means. So.
You don't know what bifurcation is?
No.
You should Google that, definitely.
Maybe I'll do it later. So you're talking about how much money you spent. Yes, and Legendary, I remember the first person I remember hearing talking about it was, I think, Matt Visual. And he was like, you know, I really want Legendary armor. And we were just like, yeah, we do. We want Legendary armor. Definitely want Legendary armor. And it was the same as well, Boots. Like, I was like, you know, I can test a lot in PvP, but I can't test everything because not all of them are available. So it's like, oh my God, everyone's having a field day now. Good Lord Jesus. What are we doing? Okay, Boots has just made a piece of armor. Let's preview the armor that Boots just got. So this is not the armor effect. You haven't got the effect on this, have you?
No, there's no effect. So, for PvP and World vs. the World armor, I don't think there's much in the way of effect. There's like a slightly upgraded version that you could use as your base.
Yeah, so you can get the line, whatever the flip that's called. What is it called? The lines that come out on the chest piece. They were like, it looks like a little spider. What's it called? That's the hero.
It's almost like the Masat. It's almost like a Masat look, isn't it? I can't remember what it's called. Yeah.
Is it this one?
The spinal.
It looks a little bit like the spider things, but I'm trying to find out which one it is. I can't remember which version. It might not actually be coming up. I don't think it. No, there it is. I think it's that one. Yeah, there we go. So it's the Sublime one. And it is pretty cool, honestly. I'm not sure if that's the World v World or the PvP one.
That's World v World. That's
the Sublime.
I think.
Yeah, then
I can Google.
That's right. There's Slumbering, and then there's Sublime, and then there's Mistforged, which is also legendary. Heroes Brigand, which is that one. There's one in PvP as well. I can't remember which is which. It's weird. I think the PvP one is. Yeah, I don't know. A shot?
I doubt they'll have done the same thing. They want like a kind of unique identity for each, don't they? As far as they can.
I don't know. Then I must have the the light World v World armor. Then maybe I've got that one because I've got the Mistforged Glorious here.
That's PvP.
Which is PvP, and it's got the same look as well. Oh, it's more fixed though. It's more like straight lines. Right, and then Sublime is all wavy. Oh, I never actually noticed the difference between those. So World v World is more like wavy and stuff, whereas the PvP one is like a lot more fixed. Sorry, I didn't mean to show like a naked Norn lady, but like, yeah, there is a big difference there.
Did you bold your non?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
She's awesome.
Okay. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to get smacked in the face. I think bald is
What?
wonderful. It's great. No. Not by you.
She is great. She's amazing. Thank you, everyone. I agree. But yeah, like that armor it does. Oh man, it's making me want to get it now. I want to upgrade it. But yeah, congrats on your chest piece. How do you like? Is that the first? That's the first.
That is my first one ever. Yeah. So only, oh my god, 17 more to go.
Are you going for every single piece, World v World? Why don't you do PvP?
No.
though?
I'm doing. So I have 5 from PvP that I could do now if I wanted to. Except it costs some gold, which I don't know if I have enough for.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna get 7 other now at this point 6 other ones from World versus World. Maybe I'll do a little more PvP so I could get 6, and then PvE for the last 6.
Okay.
I definitely need to find a kind of stable raiding guild to try and get the heavy armor for the PvE stuff. It's so pretty. So pretty.
Yeah. It is good. The heavy is so good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So Jebro, I need to join your raiding night next coming week, or not this week, but the week after, because that's how I'm gonna get my legendary armor.
Okay.
It's done.
Do you need an incompetent druid? Because I'm right here.
You're always welcome to join us. It is going to be late in the morning for or early in the morning for EU, but you're more than welcome. We have EU people joining us. We just do the emboldened mode if we can. We haven't finished them all, but we've done most of them. Done wins. It's 1, 2, 4 mostly. But yeah.
Actually, if you want to show the stream the armor animations, there's a load of the heavy armor in the video that I did at the start and in the middle. It's there's a load of it. For the like the activation animation is particularly kind of beautiful for the PvE armors.
Have you got it? You might have to tell me which what time it is on that video.
What I'll do is I'll scan through while you're doing your podcast host thing.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. That works.
Yeah.
That works. So we will go through the armor and stuff as we go. Actually, we're going to go through a little bit of an order. We're going to do weapons and stuff first, but I was going to wait until Rook comes back. But it's nice to show like some of the general looks. But like as you can see as well, if you're a new player, you're a veteran, or you're just coming back, they introduced like a big legendary armory where you can basically, you know, if you can see on the left-hand side, you can see all your equipment on every character as long as you can equip that item. You know, at the moment, I've got all of the medium gear. I've got the rifle. I've got the pistol I just got, which is just finished, which is Hope as well, which is very cool. Legendary back piece, amulet, and other stuff that I may get in the future. It's just always there, and then you can pick the stats, and you know, legendary items give you all of this awesome stuff that you can do. You can have every stat in the game. You can search for it. You can be like, oh, I want some berserker gear, blah, and then you can assign it to all of those slots as well. That stat. So it's really like quality of life. Like that's what legendary gear is all about. What did you call it, Fornax, in your video?
Hyper utility.
Hyper utility. Very true. But yeah, it is. I think this is a legendary back piece I've got on right now as well. Legendary rifle. Well, the rifle was Gen 1, and the back piece, I guess, was pretty early, and got loads of people back into PvP, so that was mainly the primary reason they kind of made that, I think, because PvP peeps didn't really have a great way to get a legendary, and the back piece is not bad. It's not bad. It's very pretty, I would say. I don't mind it on some of my characters. And there's there's bad piece in Mod V World, there's bad piece in Fractal, so there's items spread across all the modes. There's different access to different things. It also gets you to try different things, so you can try raiding and try and go for the legendary PvE version, or do it in PvP, do it on World V World, or you can just get a mixture of all of it. You can also just do that. You can just, if you like playing everything, and you'd be like, oh, okay, I'll go make one piece of this, one piece of that. You got a legendary bit. You don't have to it's not like you make the entire thing, which I think is very good.
I think that's a freedom that other MMO gamers don't have.
Yeah.
They have to they're locked into gear sets which have tier set bonuses. They can't mix and match. Because our tier set bonuses are inside runes, we can do whatever we want. We can get 6 different pieces from 6 different places. We can change the baked in stats on the armor. We can min-max completely, no RNG, completely your control, completely your choice. And most players don't have that. They'll be sitting on a boss, doing it, farming it endlessly to just get that one drop to finish so that they can have best in slot for that tier. And we take for granted the lottery that we're in control of the stats on our gear all the time from Ascended. So yeah. I've posted the links to the timestamps in the chat.
Cool.
If you want. The 6:26 one is quite short, but the 10:02 one is much longer.
Okay, it's difficult for me to do because it's going to ruin all the cameras. So I'm going to have to. Which is the first time you mentioned?
6:26.
Okay. Oh, lovely. There it is.
Yes, indeedy. It's very pretty. And I wish it was mine, but it's not.
But, for the low price of playing the game, you can do that. You don't have to, get it from a raid. Like you said, you don't have to, you don't have to kill, you do actually have to kill specific things in Guild Wars 2 raiding, I guess. That is true. But it's not like a drop that you have to get. It's not like some weird thing which is RNG and then you use, DKP to kind of bid for, I guess. I don't know. What the other games actually do, because I'm not actually sure. But,
it's a token system, isn't it? It's basically a token system where you get tokens from the bosses. You need the drops.
In other games?
Yeah, a lot of games. So World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy, and I think SWTOR, they have tokens that you can exchange for endgame gear if you collect enough of them.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Oh, we may have an incoming rook.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
here.
Hey.
My webcam colors have gone wild, but I'm here.
You feel free to do what you need to do with that. That's okay. We will continue to talk. We are welcome back as well. Good job.
Yeah, welcome back, Han. We missed you.
I missed you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. Our power, it's not even raining. Nothing's happening. It's just our power went out suddenly and then came right back on, and a Windows update decided to go through.
Yay! Always a great, and that's what it is. They were like, yep, Chicago, we need everywhere. It's just we're doing an update. Windows, let's get that power cut going. We can just force it through. Anyway, my tinfoil hat is well and truly away now. And
so you might want to jump to 10:02 because there's a lot of lovely stuff, but some of it is not Guild Wars.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't mind sharing Guild Wars specifically. But yeah, so that's right. And they're actually, funnily enough, and we'll talk about this later, there was a lot of mention about, the look of the armor specifically for some classes, but maybe we can talk about that in a bit. It kind of it does have some interesting looks in places, that's for sure. And yeah, so fashion-wise, it may not be your jam, but there is the World War and PvP as well. And there is some of it does look great as well. The heavy stuff.
A question for all of you, and I apologize if you've already covered this in the time that I was away. Are the PvP World versus World PvE sets,
Yes.
are they all cosmetically different?
Yes.
Or is it like the same way to achieve the same goal kind of thing? They are all legendary armor sets.
Different looks, yeah.
They're different. Nice, that's good at least.
We showed a little bit. So I didn't actually realize that the back piece, it's not as flashy as the PvE one for sure, but like the back piece for World v World and PvP, they have this kind of stringy thing that comes out the back, and one of them's waving and the other one isn't. It's just like, it's a bit more basic. I think it's easier to get because you just got to play PvP on World v World.
Tendrils or tentacles?
Tendrils, yes, there you go. Tentacles. all the things.
Delightful.
Beautiful.
Who doesn't love tentacles?
Yummy, yummy.
Awesome. So that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Waiting for
You're
it.
quite welcome.
Tentacles.
You're quite
Oh,
welcome.
he's gonna go there. That's okay.
So I'm sorry, I'm playing catch up here because obviously I jumped
fine.
back in. Where were we from the question I had asked right before I got disconnected, which was how did you get connected into, how did you find out about Legendaries? How did you start that journey?
Yeah.
Like, where did we go from there to now?
We had a look at some of the armor, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to just go to weapons, probably, and we're going to start off from the beginning and talk about those, look at those, and talk about, the differences in the journey for those as well, because I thought that would just make sense, because they were the first things that came in. Like, Gen 1 Legendaries, they were the first thing. So you've got, Sorry, go on.
Oh, I just wanted to say on that topic, before we get into the actual weapons, that I think it's interesting because, and even seeing Fornax's video there that was playing and comparing or talking about different MMOs, right? Mm-hmm. So oftentimes I feel like in other MMOs, that journey is very clear cut, as in if I want special effect gear, I have to do the raid, right? The raid is content. It is here. We get gear from it. It's kind of a self-explanatory sort of process, right? Or in Final Fantasy XIV, there's a couple different types of what could be qualified as, aspirational long-term gear, which could be stuff that comes from raids, or it could also be something that you are working on, like a relic weapon, which is probably closest in mechanical structure to Legendaries in Guild Wars 2, but not actually in the utility purpose of it, because pretty much all gear in 14, gear kind of expires. It only has a longevity date of so long, although the fashion lasts forever, obviously. But the actual
what about Lux weapons, by the way? Lux. They kind of grow with you. There's a journey that you go on with the Lux weapons as they evolve through time. And
do you mean one of the relic weapon sets in the Heavensward relic weapon set in 14?
I'll Google it. Carry on. Sorry, I'll link.
Oh yeah. I think you're talking about Canopus Lux, the Lux iteration weapons that were technically the relic weapon sets from Heavensward. Okay. But there's no weapon in 14 that over the entire course of the game, from from when you get it to current day. There's no weapon that evolves and constantly eye levels up to be relevant. They are kind of they're kind of the different generations of relic weapons in Guild Wars 2, in that each portion of the game itself and expansions releases a new set of relic weapons, and then those relic weapons, eye level wise or power wise, are only relevant for the specific amount of time, that window of time before the next expansion comes out, because their eye level is fixed, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, right, when you get to that point, although it's not from the get-go somebody says one day you'll get a relic weapon, but you will eventually get to the point where there's a quest giver that pops up usually in your endgame hub that then will say hey, here's a relic weapon, and you start it like this. Now, that's not to say that the relic weapon processes in 14 are not convoluted sometimes and confusing, because they definitely are. And even when a quest giver is saying to you, here is the next step, you still usually have to do some looking up. But one of the things that I think is interesting about starting a legendary journey in Guild Wars 2 versus other games is the fact that, as far as I know, there's not a single thing in the game that prompts you to know that they exist, other than just seeing them, or I guess if you trawled through the actual achievement and like looked for it. But even there, like even knowing what legendaries are, I just started this Oreen legendary recently, and I still found it confusing to like go through guides on it and be like, and that's for what step when, and I do how and where, and like, so I've been curious if there's a way for Guild Wars 2 to maybe more directly lead people into finding what legendaries are and doing that journey, because they're so cool. Like I really love them, but I feel like unless you have some sort of heads up about it, or you have just seen it and wikied it, right? Doesn't feel like there's anything in the game that like really prompts you to understanding or directing you to like that achievement or to that thing, or even to knowing that those sets are there a lot of times for legendary gear.
I wonder what. Okay, let's say we think about when that would be. Like, what would be the best time for people to learn about legendary weapons or armor in their progression through Guild Wars 2?
Look at what Glenn said. I was about to say that you do get a mail about legendary armor.
Oh, then
yeah.
Okay.
But that's only armor.
It's clearly inadequate. I would say
not that many people read them.
when I think that if they introduced it when they introduced the Orders of Tyria, so they could have it as part of, say, the Priory or the Order of Whispers, they could allocate different weapons to the different orders, and they could put lore ties in, and then they could have like an arcane museum of pictures of it and copies of the relics, and you can like walk through a museum, and there could be like whole stories where you help the order to like find the relic and build it up, and then there could be a copy of it in the hall. I mean, you could have lots of fun with that.
I like that. I mean, even with the new legendary armory that we have, it feels like maybe based off of like an achievement point threshold or something, you know what I mean? That could pop up, and or if you got your first ascended piece or something like that, then it would proc, did you know about legendaries? And you could almost use that legendary armory as like an interface, kind of like you were saying, Fornax, to have some sort of like, these are the relics of Tyria, sort of moment where it would kind of introduce you to that and tell you that it was something long term, or like a legendary specific section in the achievements. Maybe there is one. I usually just look them up by name, but like even if there was a thing there that said like legendary armaments or something, and then just specifically right there in front of you, you could look at exactly those.
These are the relics of Tyria, and then there's a quaggin and a glass bowl.
Yeah.
Don't knock it. Knock it.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, right? Half of the game and half of the best, most interesting, most fun stuff is stuck inside the UI. They have to drag that shit out and put it in front of players and go, look at all this awesome stuff we have in this amazing game. Please come and play this content. It's brilliant. We've worked really hard on it.
Welcome to that being mentioned again.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. It's very relevant. It's true. It's absolutely the problem. It's still one of the main problems they have. Like, actually showing people that this awesome thing exists within their game. And it is a really difficult thing to try and translate. How do you? And that's a really good question. Like, should people know about this early on? Is it the fact that it's a legendary? And I'm not saying that this is what I think. I'm just saying, like, questions. Is it the fact that it's a legendary and it's such a rare thing that people do have? Because really, they're not many people do have them, honestly. I know all of our community may have loads of these things, but we're very tiny compared to the player base of Guild Wars 2. Is it cooler that you see this thing out in the world and you ask people and you find out about it through rumor? Or is it cooler that, you have this quest where you're like, the achievements and whatnot, but you're linked to that more? Would it be better to have a quest line, like traditional story, going through it that way? Like, what is the best way? And I mean, it's a good question.
Can we not have it all? Can we not have it all?
we can't.
More, please, sir. More, please, sir. I'd like
need
to
a link. I think there is a difficulty as well for ArenaNet. They often have this struggle between doing what other games do and maybe doing something their own way, and it may not being the best way, but they will stick to it no matter what anyway. Do you know what I mean? And it almost, so with legendary armor and weapons, as we all know, there is no stat increase there is no need for this. It's a big piece of content that they sell to us and that they promote a lot. But within the game, you know, you don't know about it other than the mail from Legendary Armor and seeing, you know, some Tom, Dick or Harry kind of walking around with this shiny thing. You know, that's kind of what it is. I mean, that is what it is. It was
There's
like
also
cool game.
no inspecting the game, so you have no idea what it is unless you talk to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't even like perv on people quietly like you can in other games, you know.
Apparently, Obi says in the chat that you can talk to Grandmaster Crafter Hobbs to start legendary journeys. So maybe they tied it in there originally to the idea of crafting gathering, but but I don't actually think that most people come to legendaries through crafting. Some might, but to me it always felt like I would pick up crafting largely because I wanted to do a legendary, as opposed to that being more like an organic thing where I was really crafting my gear early on, and then I really focused on that because I, you know, really wanted this specific thing, and then, you know, the Grandmaster would tell me about it. Somebody also mentioned in chat Khalidbolg, which I think is a cool one, where, you know, you have that broken piece that shows up in your inventory, and then you can follow that quest if you so choose. I would love it. It's one of those things where I eventually did Khalidbolg, which technically gives you an Ascended. And I absolutely adored that piece of content. It feels like a real sort of epilogue to Heart of Thorns in particular, and gives you some sense of closure with some of those plot points. And so like having something like, I don't know, at the end of the core game where one gets put in you get a precursor in your inventory or something, and then like a window pops up and it's like legendaries. And then you have that you could take that journey and work on it.
Or a precursor to a precursor.
I mean, if it was, I don't know, if it was
Those
like
exist.
a Gen
Like
1 or
how?
something. Granted, they did make us work hard for a precursor with the Return to achievements, right? So, I mean, like, for Gen 3. But I think, again, like, that's a little bit late in the game. Like, why not introduce somebody to this concept earlier on, and then kind of roll them into the idea of keeping an eye out for it at each portion of the game. Like, the idea that there are different generations that come out with each expansion and stuff like that, because I think more people would do it,
You know what reminds
and
me
make it a part of their game.
This reminds the way that Guild Wars 2 is with the way so many things are hidden kind of inside UI, or just like not even really explained in the game properly. Mystic Forge stuff, for example. Is, by the way, did you know that there's still like, I think at least 8 different skins from, I think, the base game that have never been discovered, different Mystic Forge recipes that have never been discovered yet.
I'm so glad you brought up Mystic Forge, because that's another big part of legendary crafting that you're right. To this day is still kind of an enigma to me, although I know how it functions.
You need the wiki for that. But I mean, sometimes they have it actually written down on the tooltips, which is nice, but not often. Well, now more often, but less often than it was before. But my point is that it reminds me of Minecraft, Guild Wars 2. Minecraft is, at the base game, is, you know, you have to learn everything as you go, basically. You have to, like, you don't know how to make a pickaxe. You have to, you know, trial and error with the little crafting table. But then I started playing modded Minecraft, and it made things so much better, because you have like this new UI with like just enough items. I think it is the mod, and it basically, you click on an item in your inventory and it tells you what it can make or what it's used for, and I think that a game like Guild Wars 2 would definitely benefit from something like that. Maybe it would take away some of like the mystique. But at the same time, I feel like it could be very useful. Maybe someone's going to do an add-on like that. That would be great.
They should just have it.
Cool.
They should just have the way they've done that, the back piece. So if you don't know, right, I'm trying to think about the fact that we might be missing the point for a lot of people that may be new to the game, and like we're actually not hooking in legendaries and telling them enough about them in the first place. So I'm very conscious about this. I think we have to a degree. So like, if you're a new player, if you're returning, you don't know what legendaries are. They're basically a weapon where you can change the stat. You can have any stat on it whatsoever, and it is there in an armory, and you can assign to any character that can use that weapon as a thing. But there's a thing you can get called a precursor, which you can use to then continue crafting. You need a precursor, and I think we're talking about that kind of link, like to starting the game, knowing about a legendary, and then being able to craft it. The main reason people probably also knew about legendaries was actually precursors. Like, precursors were the main way that you found out about legendaries as well, like when you just started the game, because you would get this item that dropped, and you would have no knowledge that you would get the drop, and then you would probably salvage it or use it.
You would accidentally salvage it, because the only way you know that it's something very important that makes legendary items is this tiny, tiny flavor text at the bottom of the UI of the tooltip.
Needs to be an alert.
And a lot of people miss that.
A lot, and still do.
That's assuming you even got the drop, right? Yeah. Because so many of those precursor drops are very rare. So, you have to be running stuff enough. It's not like every single person is guaranteed to get their eyes on this, see it, and have an idea about it. So, we can absolutely move on to the weapons. I just wanted to mention that because I think, like you were saying, there are a lot of steps in this process that even as veteran players, unless you have dedicated, like you've heard about it, found out about it, and then dedicated yourself to trying to create one of these, that I feel like it's just very much missed. But it's so fun. Like the idea that there are these like long-term aspirational content pieces and these incredible weapons that are so distinctive and so fascinating within the world, have great visuals, are great long-term goals, also just great ways. Like if you're getting components for any of these, or like most recently, if you get one of those precursor weapons, which is basically like the base weapon that you then build your, legendary off of, for anybody who's like, what does precursor mean? But like if you get those, you can even earn a fair amount of gold off of just like selling the stuff for them without even realizing, or ever wanting to make a legendary. So I kind of wanted to start there because initially wanted to talk about it because I do think that there's maybe a little bit of like a gap in that, but the actual legendaries themselves have so much to talk about too. So
no, it's true. Like, and yeah, it is. It goes back to what Fornax says as well. There's so much in the game that has that missing link where I'm just like, oh,
is
man.
Fornax frozen now?
Huh?
I am having technical difficulties with my computer.
Yeah, you've got 5 lines on you.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm having technical difficulties.
Okay. But I can still hear you. Yeah, perfect.
I can still talk. Sorry.
It's all good. We got you. Boots, what you don't do during a podcast is point out technical difficulties that audience members may not have noticed. Just saying. It's okay.
You notice that Jebro hasn't blurred his background like the cool people do?
But like my background is plain, so I don't need to.
I know.
We've had this discussion, and it looks
it's
weird.
Plain, but it needs to be
blur
blurred,
the surround of my head.
I need your white wall to be blurred in order.
Those of you who are just listening also won't notice that Jebro today is wearing a rainbow clown wig, which I think really makes your eyes pop, and I think is really beautiful.
My hands
it's crazy though, the rainbow clown wig for people actually in chat right now. He chroma keyed each individual color in the rainbow crown wig. So
not possible, but cool. Not possible, but I get what you're trying to say. It's okay.
Anyway, yes, Jebro, did you want to take us to the point that you tried to get to ages ago before I derailed us?
No, you didn't derail. It was actually, it's a good point because it is a good point, and it's something hopefully that I actually just thought it could just be even if they don't link it or do anything lore-wise, they could just slot it into the actual story right at the end and just be like, you killed this dragon, here is your choice of precursor, boom, and then you're like, oh, what's this? And then it's like, you can upgrade
the Zaitan fight, which they're totally going to do. They should have like one of the Zaitan tendrils holding a Twilight or something and be like, hey, what is that? Well, that is a legendary weapon that Zaitan is wielding. Hopefully he doesn't fall to his death below the airship and we'll never be able to find him. You'll have to make your own.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but sure. I mean, it's definitely an idea. It's better than what they have right now, which is basically true. If you're also in game and you would like to come and show off your legendary and you're on NA, you are welcome to come over here and I will have a look at your legendaries and you can show it to us. You can be on stream. Okay, so we're gonna go through weapons first. Yes, Generation 1 legendary. So core Guild Wars 2 launched with a ton of legendary weapons. Crafting isn't too bad for those. It was at the beginning because gold is not something you can earn a lot of in Guild Wars 2 anyway. Like, I mean, you can if you're doing the things every day, but it's a bit boring and it's very repetitive and you have to be kind of dedicated. Whereas at the beginning of Guild Wars 2, you know, I remember the days where like 2 gold was, you were rich. Like, you know, it was like ridiculous. And you had to, when you bought gems, like that's how a lot of people got their gold. They would transfer over.
The title "I'm Rich," you know, is for like having 200 gold, which is like
it? Yes. Oh yeah. That's right. Is it? I'm rich.
I still think that's pretty good. I still think 200 gold is a big achievement.
Oh no. Yeah, absolutely. But like, you can buy that achievement pretty much. Those achievements don't really matter. They're just silly things. If you really like those achievements, then I'm sorry. But oh, are you okay, Crichton Herald? You back? Yes, we got you.
I need to restart my computer.
No worries.
We're
gonna have half of your face for a moment. Oh no, you're there.
No, now Rook is bifurcated.
I was gonna say I actually love this because Crichton had to be bifurcated for a hot second there while I was out. Now I get to be 2 people in 2 dimensions, or I guess 1 person in 2 dimensions.
Oh, there's Astral Legend. There you go. You do. Astral Legend's showing off some of their legendaries right now. Moots and whatnot as well.
Be right back.
Okay, no worries. You will be again very soon. Oh damn, you got so many. As we're looking at those, Generation 1.
Look at you should do.
That is a lot. Yes, Boots. You can look.
Everybody look at you should do.
Look in your head. Look in your head while I talk. It's okay. Generation 1 legendaries. Yes, we can see them.
Stop talking.
Generation 1 legendaries. The main component, there's 2 main components, the precursor and map completion. Those are the 2 biggest things. So you either buy it or you get it as a drop. So no one's going to be doing that. Like back in the day, you couldn't craft them. You could after a while. I can't remember when that came in. Now you can craft the precursor by going on the mini journey, which I've kind of showed on the screen a little bit, like Flame Seeker Prophecies, for example, is something that I'm going for right now. So if you don't know, you can craft all. You can craft all of the precursors now, right? Can't you? Generation 1.
I think so.
I think so.
Sure.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
The place where everybody got their precursors originally was the South Sun Cove release.
Oh my gosh. Now hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
We have a problem right now, right? Which is that South Sun Cove, with the rework of Living Season 1, has like fundamentally been cut out of the story, right? So that just means that map is kind of sitting there, and players who don't really know what's going on with it, big old question mark. What if they reworked something at the end of the core game that would like lead you to South Sun Cove to essentially use as like a first legendary training ground where you could like gather all that stuff there again, or like there would be some sort of little mini questy thing there where you could like work on making a precursor and like preview the other legendaries or something. I don't know. I think that could be
I like it. I think originally I think it was just a miscalculation on their part, because they released this event in South Sun Cove where everybody was like a one-time event, like all of Season 1 was, where everybody would like rush and unlock all the waypoints on South Sun Cove and then finally defeat the Karka Queen. Or I don't know if it was the Karka Queen back then. It was like something there, Karka something. And then for some reason, it had like a 1 in 5 chance of dropping a precursor. For some reason. And so everybody used to redo it over and over again by like logging out and logging back in really quickly every time the event happened, and some people walked away with like 5 to 6 precursors, So that was very smart of some people. I did not do that. I I didn't get any pre. Oh no, wait. I got a torch. I got a torch precursor. But anyway,
you're living your life
short,
right now. You're just remembering things on the spot. You're just like, oh, yeah, what's happening?
Long story short, I agree with you. I think that if South Sun Cove isn't coming back with season 1, we need to introduce it somehow. And I think if you could like tie it into core story season 1 before that or something like that, and maybe not give you a precursor straight up for completing it, but like, I don't know, introduce the theory of it, introduce what they represent somehow.
You know, they could just keep that drop on the Karka Queen and make you do the meta a million times and then hope for a precursor or get currency from running it to exchange or something. I don't know.
Honestly, precursors are how expensive is the most expensive Gen 1 precursor these days? Like 200 gold or something like that?
No, it's about, I mean, let's have a look. Oh, what are they called? Someone give me a precursor name, I guess.
Somebody says in chat 450-ish gold.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's how much I bought. So right now, as well, so I want to make sure we do keep onto topic a little tiny bit, because we've been here for a while. We've barely talked about anything. Well, we have, but we've talked about very interesting, awesome stuff. I may have been a bit optimistic on how much we'd be able to cover. But funnily enough, the precursors that are on the trading post are cheaper than the ones you can craft. Which is a bit of a problem, because it doesn't really encourage people to buy about 20-30 gold. So it really depends if people really want to save gold, they'll go for the ones on trading post and they won't engage with the stock.
I don't know if it's a problem though. I don't know if it's a problem. I think maybe the fact that you could craft it for a certain amount of gold, all it does is it keeps like the supply possible for precursors.
Oh, it just stops people from, they don't have to engage in things they don't want to do. They've got options, right? So it's less of a problem, but it becomes then a thing of like, I don't know. I like the achievements and everything else. I like the difference. I just think that the being able to buy it on the trading post being cheaper than feels a little bit crappy, because I'm like, there's a lot more effort
honestly,
that goes into it.
I think they only made the precursors craftable so that trading post barons can't corner the market on precursors and artificially inflate the prices and make it unattainable for some people to get.
And I mean, I have to be honest, maybe this is a hot take with everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think that giving precursors is the end of the world. No. I mean, like, of course, I don't think you want to just like throw them out like candy to everybody. But I mean, they gave a precursor with Return 2, right? And if anything, it incentivized me to do more. Because I think the thing is that there's always a fine balance between like dangling the carrot in front of somebody and like telling them that, oh, sure, yeah, the carrot's over there, but you're going to have to go up this hill first and around that and through there and over there. And then you're going to get something that looks like a carrot, but it's just made of wood. And then you go further, you can get a real carrot. Like, it's one of those things to me where I think you have to make the entry point accessible as the siren goes by. So even like for these, first ones, right? If we're getting people introduced to the idea, if we're getting them hooked on the concept of making a legendary, I don't think that, especially for like these, original ones that have been out for a while or stuff like that, that it's a terrible thing to give them a more expedited process to getting something like a precursor for those. Of course, will that affect certain things, certain market? Sure. But I think if anything, it's more likely to get people to feel empowered to want to do more of them. And with more expansions on the horizon, we only have more of these coming, and all the variants of, the Aurene ones and everything else. So to me, like, I think it would be a good step to do that. And I don't know, the Generation 1 weapons, I think, are a nice mix of kind of gimmicky and also really epic, and because they're older at this point and their prices, I think, are a little bit lower than some. I don't think it would be a bad idea to start there. And
that's a great idea. Honestly,
let people have it.
It's a great idea. I think they should do that, and I think it should be tied maybe to a new meta achievement, just like the Return to achievements, but for core story and season 1 tied together.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying with like the story. Like, if you give everyone a precursor and you choose, then you're already like you're linking that journey.
Yeah, but not just the story, because then a lot of people would just replay the story really easily and fast.
Oh, you'd only be able to get like one an account or something like that.
Maybe, maybe.
Otherwise, that would be ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you probably just make a new account and then do it.
That's a good point.
That's
honestly.
I mean, I'm not like coming.
Bound.
It's just like
just
a
bind
random.
them.
Yeah.
Oh, account bound. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It would be like exactly the same as the the Aurene ones. Yeah.
Aurene's not account bound, is it?
Yeah.
No.
The
No.
one you choose isn't it?
The precursor.
Is it not?
You can buy Aurene Gen 3 on the trading post.
Oh, you can sell the one you get. You mean?
But the precursor weapon that you can get from Return to, is that account bound?
I don't know. I could check right now if you want. Because
yeah, check. I'm not in the game, but I think that would be a good
Yeah,
solution.
check it.
Yeah, check.
Yeah,
One
log
from the
into the
achievements
game.
is account bound. Yeah, apparently it is.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
account bound. Okay, so I don't.
Which I think
Exactly.
that makes sense. That makes sense because then you're not undermining the market and
Exactly.
stuff. And I think that also again incentivizes people to work on their own to try to achieve that and like build off of that, which I also like.
And give one. Yeah, give one in at the end of the story or at the end of season 1 and the story.
I will say that there was for as many positive comments, people agreeing with the premise of the video that I made about legendaries, some people were lamenting the fact that you can buy legendaries on the trading post. Some people were like, oh, you can buy it with your credit card. And I think that having a kind of a tier or two that are just completely out of that loop makes them more attractive to a certain demographic. This is only achievable by effort and time and skill.
The Gen 2 ones, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that they have more gravitas to them.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if you want to have a free legendary, if you want to kind of do the carrot and like drag people onto that journey, it would have to be account bound and linked to some sort of epic adventure, I think. For my taste, anyway.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me because I guess it's never bothered me that you can buy them on the market board, but I completely understand why people would be upset. But I guess for me, the idea of getting good enough at crafting them that you yourself are almost like a legendary crafter and then you can roll in gold and sell them. I mean, somebody has to make them at some point. You know what I mean? Like somebody has to make them at some point, which does take time and effort in the system. And from a prestige standpoint, I understand absolutely why that would cut and downplay the epicness of having it. And I kind of like your solution, Crichton or Fornex, which is just that, yeah, maybe there could be some that were purely achievement based that you had to do that, it's all account bound, you cannot sell it. Because I do think people like working towards that. But I also like the idea of, having some of these that like other people could put time and energy into. But then, you could still generate some income, or we see how the trickle down effect of all of the shareable resources and buyable resources can become a big, source of revenue for players too, which I also think is a good thing overall because it incentivizes me to go like, oh, hey, well, maybe if I get done with what I want to do right now, but I could still get this thing or that thing, I could sell it. And I know it's going to sell for a pretty good price because people want to make this or that, or I don't necessarily inherently a terrible thing. I think the people that are going to spend money on a game are going to spend money on a game one way or another. And if they want to buy their way to it, they can. But I also think that, making one yourself does feel rewarding. So that like enough people, I think, would still choose to do that it doesn't feel like it completely undermines it for me.
I would say Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. You go.
I would say that I understand the sentiment behind people lamenting them being on the trading post, but I don't know a single person who has crafted a legendary from scratch who hasn't bought resources off the trading post. It's just inevitable. So unless you are puritanical about it, which I think most players aren't, most players are practical. So yeah, Also, I know that you were talking about your experience only learning crafting in order to get legendaries, yeah? And I think that that's because you're a newer player than I am. So when I got into the game and they introduced ascended gear, that was the zenith, that was the peak. So everybody was crafting to get that kit. And so everybody was kind of looking out for the next thing that they were going to add when legendary kind of the evolution of legendary precursor crafting happened. So I think it is a different tack. Would you agree, Mr. Boots?
I do, yeah. I think, I mean, the way you're describing the two modes of thinking about it, they currently exist in the game, so I think we're in a good place when it comes to legendary crafting or not crafting, because we have Gen 2, which isn't buyable in Trading Post. We have Gen 1 that is, and Gen 3 that is. So yeah, you have a nice mix of stuff that can be made and sold, or stuff that has to be made and not sold, and we're in a good place, I think. Yeah.
What about like, so let's move. We'll move back to kind of Gen 1. I'm trying. We're doing like, this is all great conversation. I'm really liking it. So Gen 1, like, what do you think about? Because I'm right now, that's what I'm gone back to. So I've gone back to Flame Seeker Prophecies, which is a shield, and you need map completion. So when you get map completion, core tier map completion, you get two. You get
That's a good point.
Gifts of, what are they called? Gifts of
Exploration.
So yeah, those are, I mean, that's a very good point, because those are good indicators of, like, you don't, when you're exploring Tyria and you do map completion, that's not necessarily the first time you do it. It's not necessarily because you're like, oh, if I do this, I could start making legendaries.
Yes.
When you get your gift of exploration, maybe they add an extra pop-up that says, hey, this is used for legendaries. Let's go make some legendaries now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's like, could have been, it could still be a thing they do, but like, that is the major, like I said, that is the other major thing other than the precursor. And then you could say maybe clovers as well, because of the major of a cost, I suppose.
Yeah, and you get those from Laurel.
Yeah,
Laurels.
You can get those from anywhere now. They're not
Laurels,
that bad.
But like monthly rewards.
Yeah, and PvP, you can get them really easily in PvP. I think in 1v1 as well. But like, I had loads.
I would just like to do my old person shouts at cloud bit, because when I first did world exploration to get it, you had to go through every World v World map to get it.
Yeah.
I love that.
And they were locked. Oh my god, it was such
you
a
had to actually take over keeps and do it. It was great.
And if the other people held the area, sad day for you, sunshine. It was quite.
Well, servers would rally round, wouldn't they, to get that specific tower or that main keep, and like, people were just like, especially in the first like couple of months, you would be going for like, who needs this legendary? Okay, we're gonna go together and get this thing. And it was like,
Also, it would just take several weeks sometimes, because you'd be like, okay, there's no way we're gonna get this point unless I'm the blue server. So.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds miserable.
It wasn't bad.
And I feel like by adding the legendary armor to specific game modes and the other reward tracks and things like that, they've maybe separated it out a little more so you can focus while still like incentivizing you to go and try different game modes to do different things.
Yeah.
So I like that. I actually really love that map completion is a part of the experience. I personally find map completion to be one of the most rewarding, fun, and satisfying things. It's so immediate. It's right in front of you. You get great additional story information. You discover events. You discover metas. You discover jump puzzles. I really love map completion in the game, and I, even past just core map completion, when I was first playing through the game, went on to just want to fully complete every single map, even if there wasn't a Black Lion key, or even if there wasn't, a chance of this thing or whatever, reward you were looking for that makes it profitable. I just wanted to do it because I like the maps, and it's just right there in front of you with the little, like, here's your meter, how much, and when you log in on your little screen, you see how much of the percentage of the map you've completed on your character icon. So for me, I think it's a great way to encourage players to fundamentally like understand the region, the world, the maps, the portion of the game, the expansion that those weapons are tied to. So personally, I really love that, and I am good with every single legendary forever having some kind of map completion. And I think it's really clever how in End of Dragons they added the lamps for like repeat pseudo map completion, where you can go back around and light all the lamps on the maps. So I liked that they did that to give you, again, a kind of rediscovery or something else that you can continue to look out for as you repeat and go through the maps over and over.
I do too. I do wonder though, nowadays, for like when the Steam releases, for example, new players who first come to the game nowadays, they do the core story, let's say, they do some map exploration. Maybe some people level by doing map exploration. I believe they will hit level 80 before the entire map is explored. The question is, will they continue to do map exploration only on the core maps, or will they go on to the expansions first, which don't count towards the map exploration that you need
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. And also, Legendaries.
Okay, right, Legendaries. Sorry.
But don't forget that you have to do Heart of Thorns map completion, and you have to do Path of Fire map completion to get those Legendaries crafted. Like, you have to.
I do think that Boots brings up a point that is relevant to Legendaries, in that Legendaries in and of themselves can be a gateway to encouraging map completion. So,
Yes,
right, it's this circle. So if map completion has great rewards, especially for core players, right? If you're going to get a lot of stuff from doing that, if you're going to get a lot of stuff that will set you on your journey moving forward, if you're going to get a sense of the world. Although, of course, I think if anybody wants to just move ahead to the Living Season expansions, like, go for it. Because I retroactively went back and did map completion and still really enjoyed it. And I wanted to get on to additional story. I wanted to keep the momentum going. So I don't think it's like a bad thing to choose either way. But if we did have something earlier on, if we had this moment like we were talking about with Sun, like either South Sun, or we have that precursor that everybody gets that pops up and then it tells you about Legendaries, or, you complete whatever thing and it gives you, that reward and then you get it. Whatever they would do for that, I think it could lead to a really great moment at the end of the core game to have this and say like, hey, did you know you get a lot of stuff from map completion? Legendaries as well. Here's this process that you can learn a little bit about and that you'll see in all the other expansions. So I think that like Legendaries can be a vehicle not only for getting players like more cool appearances, cool looks, longer term goals that they know they can work towards and aspire towards, but also encouraging even smaller scale content like this that is a part of that, but that you could learn a little bit earlier in the game. Like Boots was saying, like if players don't know why map completion is good, other than just leveling experience, they may not realize that it's tied into so many other fundamental systems. And if you encourage them earlier on, we'll even see players learning more about metas faster, those great reworked metas, all that kind of stuff, right? It's connected and tied into so many different things.
You shouldn't discount OCD. The first time my first character, every map I did, I completed it. And I wouldn't go to the next area or zone until I completed all the maps. And I just did it like that because
I did that
reasons.
very much at the beginning, Up until I was like 8. Until I hit 80 and then I went to 1v1. And then it was just like, I'll try and get all these different areas. But no, I did very much the same.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do. Yeah, it is. I'm doing it right now on stream. And I'm trying to do all the boring areas, so I'm going through human areas. And I'm just my personal boring areas, but...
At what point would you say that Legendaries are important to go for instead of Ascended, based on how many characters you have? I mean, how many characters do you need to have in order for a Legendary to be more important to go for than an Ascended armor or trinket, let's say?
I mean, I would kind of want to make sure we keep on the track we're going on, because we're going off. I'm trying to go through. I wanted to kind of go through all the Legendaries first, but that is a good question. Like, if you were like,
all the Legendaries,
well, just kind of each one, like how the generations and how good they're, like how accessible they are, and we can filter that question in for sure. Like, why would you? So you're saying why would you go for a Legendary? What's the point?
No,
What do you
not
mean?
exactly. Well, okay, because ascended armor is very simple to get comparatively to legendary armor,
Yeah.
and trinkets as well. And weapons, it's always important. Like legendary weapons are always something that you might want to go for because of how stylized they are, how unique they are, how amazing they look. But the armor itself, except for the envoy armor, like the original envoy armor, like World vs. World and PvP legendary armor, doesn't look that special.
No.
Legendary trinkets, and they're fine too. They give some of them give some auras or some other things, but you don't necessarily go for those because you want to have those looks on you. Like for example, for me, I turn them all off, except for the rainbow from the amulet. I like the rainbow, but you go for those legendaries because of the functionality that it gives you. It gives you the ability to switch stats, and because of the legendary armory, it allows you to have those legendary items on all your characters that are able to use them.
Okay.
Unlike ascended gear, which one piece of armor goes to one character, right? So if you have like, sorry.
It's shareable. You can share it.
Yeah, I think he means
Ascended
like he doesn't mean he like so boots means that you would have to like give that bit of gear to everyone rather than you can just pick it out of the
Yeah,
you'd have
armor.
to take
Yeah.
it off a character in order to put it on another character.
correct. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But with legendary gear, you don't have to do that because of legendary armory.
Indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
Hyper
So,
utility.
exactly. So my question is, I guess, how many characters do you think you need in order for legendary armor and trinkets to be worth getting instead of ascended stuff or multiple copies of ascended things?
See, you're the complete opposite of me, Boots. That logic is definitely a big part of, I think, like certain players' mindset when it comes to getting a legendary, right? That there's like this idea of when are you going to get your most returns for this? How are you going to divvy this all up so that you get the best returns from it? I think we've been talking generation 1 here, right? So like organically, this is like, I think the earliest set that was introduced, but that also falls within this like particular category.
Right.
And I have to be honest, for me, as like a player going through a game for the first time, I'm not even thinking about that stuff at all. I'm not thinking about how many characters will I need to make this worth it. What I am thinking about is what's the coolest looking gear in this game.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not talking
it?
about weapons. I'm not talking about weapons because the weapons are all cool in and of themselves and worth it to get whether or not you have multiple characters because they all look awesome. I'm talking about the armor and the trinkets because I don't know if those are worth it just for the look.
Well, let's wait until we get to them then. Let's wait until we get to them. We'll wait until we're trying to go in a little bit of an order.
Okay.
But yeah, remember that as we get to it because that is a statement. That is very true. Because they're a little bit easier to. They're still annoying to switch around, as we all know. Okay, so let's carry on with the Gen 1. So I just thought I'd do some fun things like AKA. Does anyone have like a favorite legendary Generation 1 weapon that they would like to kind of be like, this is awesome because of this? Like, if you had to sell a legendary weapon to anyone, like Gen 1, and you were like, ooh, this weapon is amazing. Is there one where you'd...
Minstrel? Oh, no, not the Minstrel, the Dreamer.
The Dreamer?
You can leave now.
Unicorn?
You can just go back to back to whatever you were doing before. Fishing.
Rita would probably agree with this statement because that is... what is it called again? Dreamer, right?
The Dreamer.
The Dreamer.
Yeah. The Dreamer and Quip is probably the second best one.
Wow. What? That thing is annoying as...
Okay, I'm glad that they exist. I'm glad that they exist. And I know many people who genuinely are like, this is the best thing ever, and I want this so much. I can tell you that the moment you said the Dreamer, in my head, I heard the exact...
Yeah, I know.
And it's just ingrained in me, in my soul. And I'm very glad that you can turn those sounds off because it was making me lose my mind.
Why would you want to ever turn those off?
No, I mean, they're funny. I like those ones because they are very tongue-in-cheek and they do feel very Guild Wars 2 to me. Guild Wars 2 is just as serious as it is lighthearted, and I love that.
Yeah.
Quip is equally as annoying.
Rip is the
I like
meta
how
for pistol thieves.
see. I like how you have gone for two of the most annoying noise Generation 1 legendaries. Doesn't say a lot about boots, of course. It's just so random.
You're just an agent of chaos at this point. I mean, they're just.
That's right.
The streamers and everything, and when you hear it go off, it's like beer, beer. Not like the cool beer, beer. I like.
It's fundamentally fugly. So I just.
Yeah.
I just no. Just lots of no.
Yeah. I personally, I mean, it's tough because I like a lot of them. I'm not very good at usually picking what's the one thing you like, because I like so many things for different reasons. But the ones that stand out to me, I think Frostfang is really cool because it feels so iconic to core game and Gen 1 and Jormag and like so many of the things. Yeah, like it just feels. It feels so intrinsic. When you think of a legendary weapon, you want it to be a weapon that has a legend in the world. And Frostfang to me feels like here's the legend. There's information about it and its context to, everything that happened with Asgear. And I love that. I think it's cool. Meteorologicus, I think is just gorgeous. I love the planets and the cloud and all this stuff on it. I think it's just so beautiful. Do I feel like it ties directly deep into world lore? I mean, it can. I'm sure you can find ways to put it in. It doesn't feel iconic in that way to me, but I think the actual cosmetic is just really stunning. Sunrise, Twilight, Eternity are just beautiful weapons. I think they are some of the most gorgeous legendaries, and they're probably some of the legendaries that people might see around the most. Which, you know what, might actually be something as well in favor of selling them on the trading post, because as of right now, with nothing else in the game, if you're able to get them or they're more distributable, people see them more. And I think one of the first legendaries I ever saw was probably Eternity. And I was like, what is that? And I lost my, I just lost it. So those ones I think are gorgeous, and I, funnily enough, actually like Frenzy, the harpoon gun. I think it's really pretty, and I just like its
Is that the shark
aesthetic.
one? Or
no, that's Kohamali Kataki. Yeah, that one I would say is the coolest Gen 1 weapon. That's a spear. That's the underwater spear, and it is so good.
What's
like whenever you critically hit, a shark appears and bites the target. But no, I agree with you. Like all of the great swords are fantastic. I've never made them, but I've always wanted to because they're so beautiful. And those I think are also the first one I ever saw in game, and that was a month into the game. Meteorologicus was the first one I ever made because I think the storm dropped for me at the Karka thing, and I finally made it like 4 months into the game or something like that. And actually, Meteorologicus went through a period of not being such a great looking one because although it looks nice, it didn't have like any of the effects that it has now. It had, I think it only had footsteps at the beginning as its special thing. But yeah, so over time it got extra effect added to it, which is nice. But yeah, no, Kohamali Kataki I think is my favorite Gen 1, even though I've never made it, and it's probably not that often seen because it's an underwater weapon.
Yeah, I see. I got it. It's all good.
I
crafted the Bifrost. That was the first ever legendary I crafted, and it had actually quite a lot of Jotun lore into it.
Oh, really?
Lots of
in the precursor.
Traveling across the world, trying to looking at the old Jotun monuments because they had a massive civilization, and they were an ascendant sapient race before the last dragon rising, which I thought was fascinating, and they were all into cosmology. So
that's cool.
I liked that.
That's the one you went for. Okay.
Well, I mean, the next one was Kudzu because I mean, you see my room. I'm like a druid in real life, so I like the green stuff. So.
Well, I went.
Kudzu...
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was thinking Kudzu was almost the first legendary that I went for. A few years ago, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to try and make it. And then I got distracted with something else and didn't. But Kudzu is gorgeous. And that like nature-y effect, I think, looks even more gorgeous in a game where Sylvari exist as a race, because the aesthetic from head to toe is so incredible if you're making that kind of, you know, nature-inspired or kind of organic, floral, or druidic kind of character. It's so great.
It is, like the petals moving around and stuff. That is very cool. And they're all very different. Like if you go to, so the first one I made, if you go from Kuzi to Predator, which is what I made because engineer, rifle, like it's just fire and like a gun. And then it's just completely different. It's death and destruction and the looks change, you know, if you've got grenade barrage and stuff like that. And that's another thing that was cool about the weapons. Not only the footfall, you've got the kind of aura maybe, you've got the also the different, you know, for example, if you use Juggernaut and Catalyst and you've got the third skill wandering around you, you get this kind of, I don't know what you would even describe it. The sphere that flows around you is this kind of orb, which is...
It's Quicksilver, it's Mercury.
Quicksilver, yeah, exactly. So that affects like some of your weapon abilities. So that's another thing that legendary weapons do. They affect some of your abilities and some of the things that pop off. And it's just cool, like the projectile could be different, for example. Like one of your F1 skills can be different, or one of your skills can be different with your weapon that you're using. So there's loads of different things to this. The Predator is my favorite Gen 1, and also Flamesacred Prophecies, because I'm going for it now. And also Moot, but I'm not going for it because I've already got the Orient one.
Moot is your favorite?
Moot is one of them, but I haven't got it.
Moot is one of the ones that are sort of like underwhelming to me, I feel.
It's a disco feeling, you know? It's got to be more 80s.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think they've also updated some of the effects on that, but still, it's still a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, I went for the Orient one over that in the end, but
that's fair.
It's cool. HMS Divinity isn't Gen 1 though.
HMS Divinity, but good taste. Good taste should always be acknowledged. Okay.
We'll show it off.
That is correct.
I was going to dovetail off of you mentioning Flameseeker Prophecies, because that is one that I think is gorgeous, Jeb. Yeah. And I love it because the lore, like, you know, as I pulled it up with the pen here, this idea about like it's an ancient tome containing near complete proclamations of the future as foreseen by the dragon glint. The final chapter is left intentionally unwritten.
So you need to do the achievements if you like that, because you go around collecting stories and you're filling up a book. Like, this is what you're doing.
What I would absolutely love for this, or I don't even know, in the future at some point, that just made me think, if you had later collected like Orion's weapons or something, to be able to fill in that final chapter, or like have a version of Flameseeker that would have like an additional evolution unlock based off of completing that. Like, I love that the Legendaries have potential to essentially be a part of literally the Legends lore and story that we have in the world. Like you were talking about, Fornax, the idea of learning more about the Jotun, which we don't, like, I would love it if some of that additional information and lore were available as just like side quests, you know, as you went through the core game or something, because I feel like there are so many areas in the core game that there's lore for, but you have to go through all this other stuff to kind of get, and a lot of players may not even discover that until way down the road when they started doing a legendary, right?
Yeah.
But I think it also speaks to the testament of these not just being like, right, they're not just functional, they're not just something you're getting for eye level, they're not just something even that you're getting purely for glamour or for fashion, for those of us who love it. They are something that are considered to be like a living, breathing, sometimes hilarious, sometimes incredibly epic or beautiful part of the world. And I love that. So I want to see more people, and you know, myself too, but I want to see more people feeling empowered to make them, because so many times people run out of stuff to do or don't know what they want to do, but you can work on stuff like this and get a lot out of it. And gosh, like just even reading Flameseeker Prophecies, I'm like, that has the potential to just be a whole spin-off quest that would be so moving, you know? Like, I love it.
Yeah, it's like so the first one, the first achievement to get the precursor, you have to basically take like this what's it called, the Anthology of Villains, and you basically take it to all these core areas and you record like the bosses, like you fight them, you kill them, and then record them in the book. And it's just like, it's really cool. Like, it's so far. I'm only on the second. I'm doing the map completion because I'm on the bit to craft things. I'm trying to get all the crafty bits, but it is just It is really good, and hopefully, like you say, like it's the same with everything. Like Hope, I just finished. We'll go into Gen 2 in a second, but I'll talk about that journey because I think some of us have done that as well.
I was going to say, I see in chat that somebody mentioned that apparently you can get a lost verse as part of an achievement in Elon Riverlands, which completes Flameseeker. But I was referring more to the fact that the final chapter being Aurene, like, and Aurene's role to play and how she culminates, you know, the dragons and how she takes over her mother's mantle. Like outside of just Glint's prophecies, the future that was molded by Aurene, I think would be so cool to see reflected in there too.
Version 2.
Can I do a 2-second tangent? You were talking about 14. I would love to see the Jotun and the script get the Beast Tribe treatment that there is in Final Fantasy, whereby you can explore their history, you can do quests with them. They could even have like legendaries linked to them by learning about their culture and their history and doing reputations with them and that kind of thing. I think that they have a lot of interesting races that are linked to legendaries already and could lead to future legendaries. And I feel like the peripheral lore and the broader lore of the game has been underutilized, shall we say, with our focus on the dragons. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they take it going forward.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, even if it was just some kind of new alternate gear that doesn't even have to be, it could be somewhere, it could be Ascended or it could be, you know, but that would have a kind of feeling of prestige or something like that with it, or could lead to some kind of unique precursor that had its own cool appearance, and then you could evolve further into like a legendary. I agree, because I think that there's a lot of potential for gear rewards in the game. Including stuff that gives you stepping stones to lead to creating things like legendaries, that maybe we've seen them fill out in some areas, and you know, with unique sets for maps and stuff, and you know, unique drops are now we've got also the strike mission rewards and like these other things, raid gear, right? But I do think they could do something more like that, like you're saying. It doesn't have to be a terrible soul-crushing rep grind like World of Warcraft subjected many people to for a very long time. But it could be something that Fornax, I love how you said fills out peripheral lore, right? Because you don't want all peripheral lore to have to be filled out through undertaking something that is like a lifetime achievement goal in the game that will take you 1 billion hours to get to or do, like a legendary. But you can have it become like a part of this system, and have it roll into all of this too, and you know, have relevance, which I think is cool.
I also think that not every legendary has to be linked to something extraordinary. That there are quiet, small stories that can be just as engaging and magical. You don't have to be saving the world every 5 minutes. It's, you know,
like tigers.
It's a lot. Yeah, Chupa and Champawat. Yeah,
I think that's definitely I mean, let's go on to the Gen 2 ones there, because I think that kind of relates to them even more so, because I think they're like, everyone's making noises right now? Is everyone okay?
Fuck off, moth. Sorry, carry on.
This is a big moth in your face. Again.
Yes.
So Gen 2. Gen 2 legendaries came with Heart of Thorns. You had to complete the Heart of Thorns maps as per map completion. But you also need to do, for some of them, not all of them, because there weren't ones that came in, but the ones that were released with Heart of Thorns, you need to be doing the achievements. So that was like big, massive journey for each one. I'm gonna bring up Hope.
Did I tell you about my my meeting at PAX East?
So how relevant is this right now? That's all I'm going to say. When you say kind of, do you mean...
I think I've said this before. Okay. I was at PAX East before the launch of Heart of Thorns.
Okay.
And I ran into at the party. I ran into Colin Johansson.
Okay.
And we were talking about legendaries, and I was like, I think they were thinking that maybe they're a little behind on coming out with all the Gen 2 legendaries.
Okay.
And I think I said something along the lines of, "Don't worry about it. As long as as long as you release with the legendaries that replace the jokey ones from Gen 1, it'll be fine. And yeah, and then that's kind of what happened.
You were the sole influence for that, Bates?
No, I don't think so. I think that's
it was just you.
they had already. I think that's what they had already decided on beforehand, because that's what happened. But I think because the Gen 2 legendaries, the ones that released with the game, had large storylines attached to them, essentially.
Yeah. A lot of research, like different ones. So I'm not sure if this is the same for all of them, but so you have to go to the person we saw previously in Lion's Arch here. And you're right, there is a lot of achievements. There is many. So for Hope, which is the pistol, you've got 4? Yeah, 4 different achievement things you have to do. And this revolves around the Hilux. And, you know, if you're not seeing the pistol, it's like this very engineered kind of, it's all about poisons and chemicals and mixing them all together and being proficient in poisons and different things like that, like vials, and talking to Hilux and getting recipes. And it's just this epic journey, not across just the Heartthorns, but there is some Corteria stuff as well. And it's just so long, and you have to craft the precursor, because this is all just for the precursor, but it's so much longer than Gen 1. And the stories in it, like this is the third step, and there is 31 achievements for this. 31 different items for this one step, and the final step is 59. And it's just like, some of them like are just like combine it all together, like you combine these different materials together to create something, and that's a step. So it's kind of more around like 50 or something, but it is a lot.
And it's brilliant. It's like a really great thing to go through. I mean, obviously there are some downsides to it as well that people complained about. In certain cases, you had to like, because they tied it a lot to some events in the real world. Yeah. You had to get some items from some events. And for some reason, they decided that... Okay, so one of the interesting things about Guild Wars 2 events that not everybody knows is that there are fail state events that progress to new things. So, like, most people think, hey, we should just win all the events, because then we progress the events the way we're supposed to progress them. But in fact, there are some that if you fail certain parts of the event, it progresses to new events that are important as well. So some of these things were tied to events that you needed to fail. Yes. And so when it first came out and people were trying to complete them, it became a slightly toxic situation on certain maps where you would be like, trying to tell people who don't know any better, hey, stop attacking this thing. I want this to fail.
Stop playing the game.
Stop doing what you're supposed to do. I want this to fail. Yeah. And so that wasn't the most well thought out thing, I think.
But they've continued to do that. That's the problem is they're still doing it. They're still doing it with the flipping new one.
The thing is, though,
oh my God.
I love it. I love it. I hate it and I love it. Like,
I know
why.
I get it.
It just doesn't.
I know why
work.
it's a problem. I know why it's counterintuitive to gameplay, game flow, right? Especially in things like an MMO where, you know, people they just roll along, they hit what's in front of them. I'm guilty of that too. I put on a show, I'm hanging out, I'm just grinding something. I don't necessarily, you know, try to plot or plan or wonder about what the 50 eventualities of something could be. But I also, learning. I know, and I actually also hate it in other MMOs where, like, I don't know, you go onto a map and the thing pops up, you do the thing 50, 100 times. The thing is just the way it is. The map is just the way it is. That's just it. You don't do the thing. It turns out, didn't matter. Everyone's still alive. You did do the thing. Right. So it's like, from a design standpoint, I actually think that's brilliant and I love it. You don't kill this thing? Well, stuff got worse. There's a different outcome. But I think the problem there is, where does this start causing problems for players? Is there some way to indicate that there are fail states, because almost no other MMO has them, and that sometimes those fail states might be desirable? How do you indicate that in an interface? Or, you know, when it comes to stuff like these weapons, if they are tied to things like that, right, that does create problems. So then maybe do you need to make sure that that's not a thing that's happening? Or again, is there some way you can indicate it better to players? Or I don't know. It's so tough. It's so tough.
It's so interesting. It's true. It's like, I'm sure the conversation was something along the lines of, hey, look, we got to figure out, like, let's put these legendaries in. Let's try to tie them to events because it's interesting, make things really cool. But hey, look, our data here shows that these things that we designed in the core game are like only done 0.002% of the time because they never get failed. And I really, really want to see people experience this content. What can we do to make this happen? We don't want, like, sunk cost fallacy. No, that's not even close to what's going on. But anyway, we want to let things that we've designed in the past see the light of day. And then they implemented it this way, and it's smart, but at the same time, not well thought out fully.
The funny thing is that because I just on stream, I didn't want to interrupt, but I just encountered an event because I remembered this one specifically from the journey. So what happens is there are some Sons of Svanir which basically escort a Quaggan to this area, to this totem, and they sacrifice it, and it turns into an ice brood, one of the ice brood, whatever, thingamajigs. And we were just outside fighting it. It was with this player. So that is one of the events that fails, because if you go there, you can stop it from being sacrificed, basically, or being changed. And you never see that event never sees the light of day if you just complete it. Like, it doesn't happen. But you have to let that event fail, and you have to get that Quaggan to get an item from that Quaggan for that to happen. So that is one of the core game things, and that is one of those events, like you said, Boots, that never gets done. Like it other than for like hope, like it probably hardly ever pops up. So I think a lot of the idea is getting people to engage, like you say, in those events that kind of haven't gotten done a lot, but to also, be like, there are so many things like this that happen that maybe, I should check out the rest of the maps and see if there's some events that I kind of haven't seen before. And I don't know whether or not they would think of that, because it seems a bit backwards, but like, it's still a really cool function. It's just unfortunate because then you're kind of stopping and watching something unfold. So you're kind of watching the story unfold rather than taking part in the story. And that's cool. But you kind of do that a lot in Guild Wars 2 when you're just playing events anyway, because there's different things happening all around you. There's people talking, there's music, there's things coming in, there's other people killing other stuff in an area which you're not. So there's always this kind of revolving story around you. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of like it, but like you said, Rick, it defeats some of the objects of what we're trying to do. And I think we saw as well with the new variants, there's this crossover, we're trying to kill the wizard and all this kind of stuff where you need it to fail, but you also don't need it to fail because you need the other thing, you need this other item. And also, yeah, it was just weird and confusing, and it just felt, because so many people are going for it, it feels like really weird to like let this guy just defeat you. Like, it just feels odd, and it's just like, but I get it, but it could just be done maybe differently, maybe in an instance or something else, I don't know.
That's what I was thinking while you were talking, where you could almost have something where there could be like, I don't know, a region on the map where this thing could pop. And if you have some kind of flag for whatever step you're on, or like an item or something in your inventory, if you go to that region, you could almost like force pop a version of the fight, right? Like you could almost force proc the event, and then people who were in your party or something would be able to attack it, but people who wouldn't, or your squad or something like that.
Or like a historical item or something, or like a
because they do something kind of, they've done something kind of like that. Final Fantasy 11, there were some like world creatures that would spawn specifically if you had whatever quest marker or something. In other MMOs as well, you might have something that is just like this unique spawn that happens because you go there, or It's like a little ring and only the people inside of it that agreed to go in can go in, like some of the later content in 14 that they did with this one zone. Or like, I think there could be a way to do that. It would fundamentally change a lot of things, but it would, like, they'd have to implement it, or they'd have to just like remove all requirements that are these weird fail state things like from old stuff, and then like from then on forward have some kind of new system for things like this. But I like, again, I don't necessarily want to see them remove that element of an interesting dynamic world, because right, like you were saying, like, oh, you have to sit back, but like what happens if you see the Quaggan about to be sacrificed, you get there too late and he is, and then here's this horrible thing that happened, or you get there in time and you save him, or you get there and you wait and you watch him and then he becomes an even bigger threat for you to face. Like, I think all of that is an interesting and dynamic, immersive experience in a world that feels more alive than many other MMOs manage to pull off. But again, it does carry these bizarre like caveats. So having some kind of version of those things where you could just force it to come up and then only have certain people be able to participate if they were in your party or whatever that was, I think could work. Or if it instanced you into a little thing, sure. But I like the idea of not being having to be completely removed off of the map, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they telegraph this stuff at all well enough for players to be able to really enjoy the complexities. And if you have to go there and you have to do a very specific thing, I think that there should be some sort of triggering event. I totally agree with Rook. You go there, you interact with something, and then the event itself develops in a way that completes the story in the way that you need to do without inconveniencing other people on the map and inconveniencing you. Because as much as I love the scavenger hunt journeys that the Legendaries take you on, but they're not particularly respectful of time. And some people don't have a huge amount of time to be jumping in game and trying to do an event 7 times when people are not listening and not communicating, and they're just there trying to get what they need done as quickly as they can. There's no malice, right? Never assume malice where ignorance will suffice, So I feel like that there are some quality of life things, as truly fantastic of quality of life there is in the game to do with Legendaries and their utility. There needs to be more utility for these awesome events and quests in the open world, I think.
Yeah. Circling this back specifically to Generation 2, I mean, like, obviously, part of why we talked about this is because there are a lot of these prerequisites or things, and even later we would see them again with Generation 3, where I liked the idea that you just said, the wording you just used for Fornax, the idea of a scavenger hunt almost for a lot of these components, which is fun, I think, in and of itself, but like you said, is already so demanding that it can be frustrating when some of these things have these little windows. But one of the things that I do like about Generation 2, or that I wanted to mention about Generation 2, is that we were talking right before the podcast, and I just kind of asked everybody offhand, is Generation 2 the most time investment, hardest to get? And I think pretty much everybody here was like, yes, 100%. And with that, thinking back about our earlier discussion on this cast about the feedback that you've heard Fornax, or that I think many of us have heard in the community about certain legendaries being sellable. One of the things that I love about Generation 2 is that it's like not going anywhere. Generation 2 is the most time investment, but I think it has some of the coolest stories, narratives, most unique weapons. And although they weren't able to continue this, and there's been feedback about that, people who were like, why can't we just get these unique quests? Other people who I think like us have agreed, we understand why they can't develop and spend the amount of time dedicated to this kind of story for content that is really, again, going to be done by a relatively small amount of people in this game because of the time investment and because of the epicness of these weapons. I don't mind that they shifted away from it, but Generation 2 will forever be there. People can do it. you can't earn this any other way except for this way. And so it's one of those things where if you're looking for those prestige legendaries, that is generation 2. You're going to get your most from it. You're going to have the hardest journey. You're going to have these events. You're going to have all these different things you have to do. But I think you get some of the most rewarding story, and it's a beautiful set of weapons, honestly.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's only about half of them, eh? It's like the first half that got released had those stories tied to them, had those legendary journeys with them. But then, yeah, like you said, because of time restraints and not being able to put the same amount, also probably maybe some of the backlash as well of people saying, you know, I don't like having to do these events that need to fail in order to do this. They didn't want to have to spend the time and effort to like really make sure that all of the decisions they make for each storyline step won't have a negative backlash to it as well. They're just like, okay, yeah, let's just release it with these legendary shards instead, and we'll use this system instead and get it done that way. They're still more expensive to make than Gen 1 or Gen 3, I think. Maybe not right now, because I think right now the materials for Gen 3 are still kind of expensive, like the ASSs. For example, but and you can't buy them, so there's that as well. But yet unfortunately you don't have the storyline attached to them for the second half of Gen 2. Yeah, so I guess you still have the prestige of having them, but it's more gold based, I think, than
Good point.
yeah.
You're only getting that. I mean, it really just depends what you want to do. I mean, I know people that do their journeys and they don't even use that. I think Really Geek, who's awesome mod, is doing the jumper up one and doesn't even use the weapon. Like, people are doing, that's how good those journeys are. Like, that people enjoy them so much, they're doing them because they care. So because the story is, how many times did I go on about my generation 2? You remember, like, every single show I've brought it up.
Yeah.
Like, I've just been like, it is literally, I've been playing this game for 10 years, since beta. It is one of the best things I've ever done in this game. 100%, like, legitimately.
This was you making Hope,
yeah,
right?
Hope the pistol, yeah. Like,
So it's
it was so good.
Chupa Champawat, Nevermore,
Yeah.
and
Astrolaria? Did that have
no Astrolaria? I don't think so.
Someone will say it in chat. We're relying on you.
Was it the hammer? Was it the hammer?
I don't think so.
No, was it?
It was Astrolaria. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Astrolaria.
Oh, that's cool, because I will kind of want that. Even though I'm not going to use it on many characters. So yeah, I mean, Hope is like, and it's genuinely an awesome. I'm showing it off now because I'm gonna. Like, you've got
and it
this.
does follow. Your
Awesome.
Hope looks fantastic, by the way.
It is good.
It's like a perfect counterpart to the Predator.
Yeah, it does feel like that. I mean, I think it's, and you can dual wield because of the wardrobe. Unfortunately, you can't just put legendary pistols in each hand that are the same. But you know.
But yeah, so Astrolaria, I think, is the only one that's kind of out of the same, because it, like I was saying, Nevermore, Hope, and Chuka and Chakawat follow that theory of replacing the more silly / not as cool legendaries. I know some people say Bifrost is awesome, but I'm like,
it's pretty
right.
cool. I think it's just like, yeah, I mean, I think
it's along the same line as the mood, I think, for me.
Right. Okay. That's fair.
But yeah, Chupa and Chakawat and Hope replace the two that we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Hey.
But then they did bring out other ones after that so went more down the traditional kind of Generation 1
I
way.
think the problem is that, like, a lot of these joke weapons are beloved. I mean, even from Generation 2, we have Shushu,
for sure.
which is one of, I mean, honestly, I know a good handful of people that started Legendaries because they just loved the dumb little Quaggan in the shield and thought it was the cutest, funniest little thing they'd ever seen.
But the point is that they made sure with Gen 2 to have an option for people that wasn't silly for those weapons. And if there was, for example, Flameseeker Prophecies, the shield from Gen 1, is not a silly weapon. It's a very serious weapon. And so that's why they were allowed to make the Shushudu in Gen 2, because you're allowed to have a silly legendary weapon.
Look at it, like, it's a little baby inside the shield.
I know he's the cute. I love it. But I mean, I will agree with you, Boots, in that personally, my own personal taste, I do not like when they do like relic weapons or legendary weapons or epic lore weapons and they're super memey. It's just me. I like to have those options in the game, but if I'm gonna spend like months of my life, years of my life working on a thing, like I don't personally want it to be something memey silly. I would rather see those be a reward for some other kind of fun collection side thing, achievement thing, that, you know, maybe doesn't carry the same level of prestige, but I do think it works for me better in Guild Wars 2 overall because Guild Wars 2's world is a little tongue-in-cheek, like we've talked about. Like, there are parts of this world that are just straight up meant to be funny, and like that's just kind of it. And it does remind me of a lot of the games I played growing up that still had a great sense of humor and did things very seriously, but also knew when to have a laugh in the world that they were creating. So I appreciate those things. I personally am not driven by them when it comes to these kinds of legendaries, but I'm glad that we have the options. I would be fine if they moved them into a different category and just did only epic weapons, but it's not. It doesn't affect me because I can get things I still want. So,
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
I think having a mix is good. I think Guild Wars 2 has this kind of silly, fun style to it, so I think it suits the game. But I know what you mean. I think I tend to ebb on the more epic on the side, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jebro. Is there a story tied to Shushadu that I don't know about?
Well, there might be for the precursors. So don't forget the precursors. This is where they got the opportunity to do those. So I would say that there must be, I guess, because you can craft all precursors, can't you?
So,
Yes.
The question is, I want to know much about what's going on with Shushadu. I want to know.
I mean, you can probably go and ask him.
So, for the listeners at home, Shushadu is a shield, legendary shield. It is essentially a fish tank with an orca quaggan trapped inside. And
it's not trapped.
It's hanging out. There's no trap. Look, it's got the top is open. You have not trapped this quaggan in there. My good lord, how dare you?
This poor quaggan has never left this shield.
He's happy in there.
It's a mobile sushi station.
Oh my god!
No,
this is getting worse. Wow.
Okay, so
we're moving on.
Shushadu's story is one that's told more Dark Souls style, in that like the item and the precursor and stuff itself and its descriptions and the eventual legendary lore unlock that you get give you more of the information about it. Again, it's one of those things where I would love to actually see
That's what you mean by Dark Souls.
That's what I mean by Dark Souls storytelling. They do it through objects and remnants.
I thought you meant that it's like the soul of a quaggan horribly trapped.
Listen, okay. Listen to this is what it says on the wiki. It says Shushadu, the tiny quaggan Shushadu. Shushadu is the quaggan. That's not the name of the shield. Shushadu is the quaggan, okay? And it says, Shushadu has made up their mind to follow in your footsteps as a champion of Tyria. You'll need to carry them until their stride is a bit longer. They want to follow you on your journey. They're not your flipping sushi stand.
It's not their growth though. They haven't grown in like 4 years.
It's because
a snack in potential.
They are a baby.
I want to know how old quaggans live.
The precursor weapon is called friendship. And it's the same shield, except you just have the egg that you're carrying. You're like a surrogate parent for this little baby. Yeah.
So like, I need to find this.
Okay, so are we saying that quaggan are essentially whatever race Yoda is, and this is like a baby Yoda situation where the quaggan can grow to 50 years old before it needs to be released by the cage because it doesn't grow until then?
Now, I would like to say that this would be another great weapon that would make for a great, like, eventual further evolution version, like if they ever introduced like bonus phases of old legendaries or something where you can upgrade them further, which would be that Shushadu could get like bigger and fill up more of the aquarium, or even like stick out of the top a little bit, and then when you did certain attacks would come out and go rage form and like attack the thing you were attacking and then go back in the shield, which would be so good.
That would be very good. That would be good. I agree. Or like Quaggan on a stick as a staff.
Oh my god. No.
Not a dead Quaggan, a live Quaggan who wants to follow in your footsteps and decides to stand on the stick for you.
Okay. There was like a balance update preview post from yesterday or something.
What?
Like some like thing that some update from the team, which might be worth going through. Okay, sorry, I just went off topic for a second. I got a DM from Reader about a post. That might be something we go through later. I'm not sure, but thank you. I was gonna say, so like out of all of the Gen 2s, like what is your favorite? Do you think, Beeps?
Oh, definitely Binding of Epos.
Okay, I think Harold's gone again.
Oh no.
Yeah, Harold said she had a blue screen.
No.
Unfortunately. It's not been a good connection day for the podcast.
No.
Bifurcated.
Bifurcated once more, I assume my true form. Multiple dimensions, one body.
Mm-hmm.
This is very good.
Malin agrees. Exceed agrees.
Ipos is good. Ipos, I like that one.
Yes.
My favorites. This one's tough because I actually think there are a lot of really beautiful ones from this set.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
My handful of favorites, Astrolaria is incredible. The star arms that you get, 10 out of 10. That's gorgeous. I love that they like extend the weapon's effect outside of just the weapon to actually affect you as its wielder, which is very cool. I actually also really like Shukadal, which I think is really pretty.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful one.
Scepter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
And it's like a rare scepter that I'm actually like, that's super cool, and I love it. So
I like it.
that one's cool, and I like the little like Quetzalcoatl that kind of like flies around with you. I think that's fantastic. I also do like, I think Chuka and Champawat's story is adorable, and I love it, so that makes me love the weapon even more. And then Nevermore. I mean, what kind of bird-loving person would I be if I wasn't into the Raven staff with Nevermore as its name? So yeah, I think that one's gorgeous, but they're honestly it's all a pretty good set, I think, overall.
Yeah. Nevermore's also one of the cool ones. It takes the same situation, I think, as... Does it? Is it the same thing as with the Kohamalakataki that when you critically hit, it summons extra things to attack or something? Extra ravens, is that possible?
It might.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway.
As we like wait for chat to be like yes or no. Because we can't wiki things, and well, we can wiki things and oftentimes do in the moment, but sometimes it's just faster to ask. Yeah, I thought it had a special effect, like an additional effect on it.
Yeah, I love those extra effects, and that's why I'm looking forward when I finally do make a 3rd generation legendary, which have the on-death effects, which seem really interesting.
Yes.
I like Hope.
I like Hope.
Hope is good. And also there is another one. The hammer's pretty cool. But there's like, I mean, as well, while we're thinking about this, do you think, so in general, like there's a bit of a mixture to crafting them? Is there still you do the half thorns, map completion, you've still got to do loads of the other stuff you have to do for Gen 1, and you have to do a lot of the Gen 2 kind of achievement stuff, but as well, you know, it's not too bad to craft, I think, generally. Like the experience, it's easily been my best experience crafting like a Gen 2, those first ones that came out of Heartthorn. So if you've ever got the opportunity to do that, do it. It's wicked.
Agreed. Ooh.
Some of them are a bit...
Welcome back.
Thank you. Apologies.
Okay.
That's all right.
It's okay. Some of them are a little bit like, they're okay. But they're just not my style. I think everyone just has different styles. And then, Unless there's anything anyone else wants to say about Gen 2 Legendaries. We have the Generation 3 Legendaries, which are completely different. And just...
Are we supposed to be this? Okay, because I keep forgetting that we have audio listeners. Should we be described when we say "I like Hope" or "I like the Binding of Epos"? Should we describe what they look like a little bit?
You can describe it if you want. I mean, most of the people are going to see it, but like I've been trying to show it at different times. But
yeah, okay. Here, you ready for the audio listeners? Let's listen to this. All right. So the Binding of Epos is
I'm going to pay you while you do this.
Is a focus. It is a focus that replaces the Minstrel, which is kind of an underwhelming Gen 1 legendary for some. Some people really loved it, but some people didn't. So it is a focus that, you know how all focuses are kind of just like a little trinket you hold in your left hand? Well, in this case, it actually turns your hand into like a shadowy demonic claw. And then on top of that, holding out in front of you is a floating tome. Some sort of demon summoning tome. Mm-hmm. It's all very cool, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad that you described that, because that is something that I really like from Gen 2. I think that they did a lot of stuff that was kind of creative with, again, like how the weapons affect even you, right? Like, how do we kind of change the idea of a focus? Well, what if it just completely transmorphs your hand and then you have this book that floats in front of you? How about a scepter, but you have a floating Quetzalcoatl? How about, this axe, but like holding it makes, part of space go up your arm and almost corrode you or magically affect you. And those are some of the things that I think as well can maybe make a legendary weapon truly legendary, right? If it really feels like something that is super unique for that type of weapon. You don't have to just have a sword that's a sword. You don't just have to have a little trinket that's in your hand that's a trinket. You can kind of mess with that and subvert it, and I think that's a really good place for legendaries in particular to shine.
Yes, I agree.
Cool. So with the uniqueness that you're talking about, and this is a good transition point as well, you have the uniqueness of all these Generation 1, Generation 2 legendaries, and the podcast is not just about the awesomeness of what legendaries are and what they do, being able to change stats and whatnot. It's about their look and how they make you feel and all those things. It's a bit different when you go to Generation 3. And first of all, the community was a little bit hesitant. I will say hesitant rather than they were, for words I would use, about the looks maybe and the such. Well, not everyone, obviously. There's one person on this podcast who may have been ecstatic about the look of the weapon specifically. I think there was a lot of people who were worried and concerned until they heard about the variants and stuff. But also, there's a clip on my channel which has got a lot of views about the description. I might have to try and find it and play it, but of what we're talking about. Basically, Ender Dragons brought in a ton of legendaries, but they were themed around Aurene, who is the legendary dragon who is in the story. I'm not going to say anything about the story, spoilers, or anything like that.
It's an odd choice because nobody likes Aurene.
You take that.
That face drop, though.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Just like...
Oh dear.
I will not have any slander of my beautiful, beautiful dragon on this stream. Not on this channel, not on this podcast, not in this chat. No.
Never. I'm sorry.
Aurene legendaries were announced, and you could basically get a precursor via the Dragon Season achievements, where we all could get a legendary amulet, which gave us a kind of rainbow cool look, and it just gave us a free legendary as well, which is awesome. But also, we were able to get a precursor on the way for the new Aurene legendaries, which are very Aurene themed, very sparkly, rainbow effecty. Very, very cool, very specific in their look, but not specifically unique in terms of every single weapon looks different. They've got the same glow, they've got the same kind of effects. There is a unique difference between these and the previous ones, though, where you kill something, there's this kind of like rainbow shard effect, which is very cool.
The on-kill animations for everything in Gen 3 is a new revelation that's really cool for legendaries.
very much so. I'm gonna go and show that off because I've actually got one. So we'll go do that.
One?
Yeah, I got the mace. So that's the footfall is pretty cool as well, honestly. And then I'll go and kill something. But like, what were the original feels? How did we feel when these came out? Like, what do you reckon about just how they are, the arena legendaries? They're very different from the Gen 1 and Gen 2. I mean, don't know if maybe someone on the podcast would like to talk about how excited they were for these legendaries. I don't know who could possibly do that. But maybe they want to jump in and talk about that.
Yeah, Boots, I'll turn it over to you because I know.
Yeah, okay. Well, as we all know, Aurene is my favorite character.
Fornax, did you leave on purpose? Or was this accidental?
I wish. No, sorry. I'm having technical difficulties. You carry on without me.
You're fine. No, I will always talk about Aurene and these legendaries. Although I think I will bring a little bit of balance now that we're having this full legendary rundown. So, and initially, yeah, God, oh my gosh, I'm still really hyped. These are the legendaries that got me to make a legendary. Partially just because, as you all know, I love Aurene, but I also just love dragons, and I love the story, and I love the way that they even realized the other dragons in this world, because gosh, I feel like the fantasy verse, and particularly MMOs, for so long were just like sleeping on how cool dragons are. Maybe it was because they've been doing that since the medieval ages and beyond, depending on what part of the world you're in. But to see a game that just actually leaned into this kind of facet of fantasy worlds and then explored it in this really fantastic way was really exciting to me. So I was excited about these. And part of what I talked about back when we did our original podcast, sort of discussing how we felt about them, was the fact that, to me, I felt like it was wholly appropriate to have a full set of these weapons that were themed like this. One, because we haven't had any other truly fully Elder Dragons themed, intentionally designed sets for these dragons. And I mean, come on, like, it was a no-brainer. At some point they were going to do it. They were going to have to do it. And this feels really appropriate here as the, legendaries that are celebrating 10 years in the culmination of this story arc, right? So I love seeing that. Two, I didn't mind that they were a full set because, again, it's like, I don't want there to be like a warhorn that's Aurene and nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't have made sense to me. And three, the big selling point for me was that this culmination of arc, our role as commander, as champion, whether or not you personally really feel like you connected with those storylines just from like a story perspective. The other legendaries have been legendary weapons that have all sorts of different context of lore and history in the world, but these weapons are ours. They are our legend. They are our actual, the relics that we would have created and made and used in this world, at least from the narrative standpoint of Aurene's champion. And to affirm that even more, spoiler warning for everybody, you use them in the last instance of End of Dragons, which to me is like so good. You know what I mean? I was really hoping that they would have a whole quest about these weapons, and there are some really incredible little lore tidbits from each one about Aurene and how she's feeling and who she is and things like that, which I love. I still would have loved to actually see a quest with these, even if it was one quest for the first weapon you completed. But as it is, they worked it into the story in a way that it feels like these weapons have connection, they have context, they are our legend, they are what we would wield using Aurene's power, and I love that. So I love all of that. Now, my little thing that I'll add here on the end before I pass it over to everybody else is that one thing I will say is that, especially looking back through today, all of the other legendaries, I do think that because of the nature of these, because they knew they were going to be mapping them, they weren't just designing this set or Aurene's weapons, they were thinking ahead to designing all of the sets for all of the Elder Dragon skins that they're going to be providing with them. And I do think that because of that, we lost a bit of unique individuality for them. I think they do feel a little bit more like a template. I do think that when you look at stuff like we were talking about how cool and unique some of the Gen 2 ones were, and the arm effect and this thing and that thing, right? I do think we lost a little bit of those like really unique designs and really innovative designs because they knew they were going to have to use them as a template. But I think they tried to make up for it with things like these new special effects. Do I think they could have pushed it even a little bit farther? Sure. But I still think they are gorgeous weapons, and they got me really personally excited to collect them and create them and to get to experience them and have them in game. So.
Okay.
Next. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing else to add from me for that. So, yeah, they like. What are we feeling in light boots and if Fornax is here?
I am here, yes.
Okay.
You can go ahead then.
Well, my computer is still not on fire. I like them. I think it's a nice homage to the end of the Dragon's story. It kind of bookends the whole like narrative journey that we've been on, and I think it's quite fitting that they have these legendaries to kind of cement it in the lore and memorialize it. So I'm perfectly happy. Do I intend to make an Aurene legendary? I don't know. They are beautiful, don't get me wrong. They are very beautiful and it might happen, but I like the beautiful kind of like Barbie sparkle rainbow angel. It's lovely. I like it. But yeah, I don't know. It's to be decided. But the most important thing is that there is a massive diversity of choice. And as a player, everything can't be catered to you individually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the best that you can hope for is equal opportunity, diversity in your choices. You know, equal opportunity objectification in the armor. Skimpy armors for boys, skimpy armors for girls, covered up, and lots of choices for hyper real and incredibly fantasy based and everything in between. And you that's one thing you can say about Guild Wars. It has a massive swathe of variety when it comes to customization and visuals of your gear and your character. So, yeah.
Please.
But yeah, I mean, when the Aurene weapons were first released, or not first released, first talked about before the release of End of Dragons, I think I was probably on the same page as most other people. It was that smart idea to release them all of a similar style just to save in development cost, but I wasn't very, I would have probably preferred that they were, unique like Gen 2 and Gen 1 legendaries as well. And I thought that it was weird that was like a huge selling point, or one of the huge selling points of the expansion. But then they revealed that there's a lot more to it. And then I kind of understood a little bit more, and I was looking forward to it. So I will definitely make an Aurene legendary, partially due to the fact that I have an account-bound Aurene precursor. So I will be using that one to make a legendary at some point. Also because I kind of like, I looked over all the legendaries and compared Gen 1 to Gen 2, and I was like, you know what, Shield or Mace maybe are probably the two that like I don't feel a compulsion to want to make one of the Gen 1 or Gen 2 versions of, so might as well make the Gen 3 of. So yeah, I'll make one, and I think I'll enjoy it. And I don't know what variant I want to use yet. I want to see when they all come out. I might make a Gen 3 axe and make it a Jormag version of the axe, just to like
use the other one as well.
Just to see, just to compare a Frost, the Gen 1 one with it, and just see which one's better. Or an Aurene staff. How's the Aurene staff? Does anybody have an Aurene staff and is like, this is better than the Bifrost?
Staff is pretty.
It's pretty
the
good.
Staff is pretty.
It's pretty loud, yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
I would love it so much. This is a it's not a tangent, it's relating directly to this topic, but I think it would be very cool if you completed every single iteration of the weapon. Like, you get a staff and you get every version, the Zaitan, Primordius, everything. And then if there was some unlock version of it where like periodically it would just shift into the different dragons. So you would have like, because Aurene contains all their magic, it would be so cool if that was like the culmination where like you could maybe toggle it on or off, or you could like use a version of it that would have like it would go through the dragon cycle essentially, and like as you had it would change and like shift into the different kinds.
Are we gonna get a void version?
Ooh. That would
I
be
don't
fun.
think they've announced a void, but I thought they'd announced all of them. Or they've shown us a version of each greatsword.
I thought
Maybe that's what's going to happen if you can get every variant, because the that's all of the magic put together, isn't it? The void. It's an overwhelming.
They haven't really. They haven't.
I thought the void was the
doing
absence of all of their magic, wasn't it?
No, it's together.
No.
I think it's So they haven't done a Suan, or they're not gonna. They didn't say they were gonna do a Suan version either.
they did. They did say there will be a Suan version. Yes.
Oh,
really?
I don't remember what blog it was in. I could have sworn there was an interview or there was something.
I don't think so.
They said there was going to be a Suan version.
Does that
and
mean
then
we're going to get underwater weapons?
I'm convinced of that too. I'm sure.
I swear there was an article.
Yeah.
I could have sworn that there was.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I was just off.
Or like a piece of information about it.
Not seen anyone mention or talk about it. I mean, it will be a Reddit somewhere as well. I don't know. That would be cool. That would make some sense.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone wants to find that information, you are welcome to do it.
They named all the dragons and a secret one just before the expansion drop. Okay, so
Next one,
the
but
secret
not
one
end
is
of Grand.
probably Glint, right?
I have no idea. We'll see. We'll have to see. But so all we've got the Krakatorik we're at the moment. I started to getting the legendaries isn't too bad. We talked about this a little bit earlier, that you need to get a lot of the new currency. You need to complete the new End of Dragon maps. And there's lots of, what else is there? There's the research notes, which, is a little bit easier to do now. We understand them. Honestly, pretty easy to do. Not really much of an issue. If you've gone through the story fully, you've got enough of the tales of, or whatever the hell they've called this, the story currency, memories or whatever. Yeah, you've got enough of those. If you want to do another one, then you have to go and do the story again, or you have to do the maps or whatever things you need to do to get the currency. It's just getting that currency, really. It's just because it's a newer currency. It just takes a little bit more time. It's not difficult. I don't think legendaries are difficult. I think the only thing that's difficult might be raids, really. And some elements of the PvP back piece are a bit more difficult to get. But yeah, it's not really that difficult. Mace was pretty easy for me to get, honestly. I made the precursor. Making the precursor is pretty. I made another one because I wasn't sure which one I wanted. So I was like, I know I want the mace, and I know I want another one at some point. So I'll keep the other one. I kept the original one. The one where you can choose. I kept that just in case in the future. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just maybe get another one in the future. We'll see. Rather than just doing that, and making the precursor pretty easy. You can do that.
I actually loved that the precursors have Aurene's color palette from when she was a baby, and like when she was growing up until the point where she starts really like manifesting her crystalline form. Like back before she had ascended, and we'd seen like end of season 4, I had a look that I had put together that was themed around like Aurene and how she looked in her color palette, and I could never find a good weapon that worked with it. And so to get the precursors that actually have that palette and like that look to it, I was like, I've been waiting for this. So that was like a little bonus for me on top of all the rest.
Oh, cool. That's good. There you go. It's all of, and are you using like the precursor as you go through?
No, right now I have stand-ins for the Aurene weapons. I'm using the like icy black lion ones.
Okay,
the glacial,
I like those.
glacial stuff.
Glacial
and I kind of dyed them to sort of kind of look like they were crystal, like to match my Aurene outfit. So they're my knockoffs until I get the real stuff.
That's okay. You're allowed. That's all right. You're doing what you can do, okay? No judgment on using the precursor skin whatsoever. And you're joking. But now maybe a tiny bit. Okay, so generally I think they're pretty good. I think, you know, it is a little bit of that, the whole, I think, you know, when they came out and we didn't know about the variants, I was very much the same. I was just like, as a lot of people, I was like, oh, I'm kind of, I like it, I guess, but I'm kind of sad that there isn't different ones. Yeah. Like, I want this. But then I was like, oh, the death variant's coming out and everything else. So the variants, getting the variants is very, very cool. Like, getting, like, that is actually a good thing to, like, you can do. You can go back into Corteria. I've only done the Zayatan bits right now. I haven't finished it because I have to get a currency, like runestones or something.
You have to go fight Zayatan again to get them?
I don't know. I haven't got that far. I've got a bit far. But you have to go and do some of the event. You have to do a lot of events in Ore, so you have to revisit it, and you have to do the end meta as well. You have to kill the wizard, and you also have to let the wizard win. I can't remember. There's a specific. I don't think I've done that bit yet. The Zayatan fight isn't repeatable. Oh, because it's story, right? Like core story, you can't repeat that. Well, unless you do the story again. I don't think they did anything where you go back and kill Zayatan again. No. It would have been cooler. I think we came up with loads of ideas you could have around that. But generally, I don't know if anyone else does. How do you feel about these Fornax, the kind of Aurine Legendary? I know you said you might craft one in the end, but do you like the variant ideas? Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's impressive that they've got 96 variants. Yeah, yes. 6 per. I mean, that's incredible. I think that it caters to people who love the story and who want to geek out on that. I think it caters to wildly different tastes, you know? Mm-hmm. I think it's, as I say, if the next generation is a matching set again, I think I would be a bit more critical. But as I said, I think it is a very fitting capstone to the narrative journey that we've taken, and a celebration of the different dragons that we've encountered. And so I'm perfectly fine with them. I think they're very thematic and good. They fit in with the story. I'm always wanting more story, and if there was more story related to the acquisition, that would be perfect. But I mean, we're in the daddy I want a pony territory, so I'm happy. Okay. I'm happy. I live my
life in the daddy I want a pony territory.
And let's have those conversations. They're fun ones. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we have been here for a bit. It's coming up to 3 hours, and I realized that we have a legendary armor and trinkets and everything else that goes along with this. So I'm going to ask our podcasters how they feel about continuing to talk about that, or maybe if we shelf that.
I have to cook dinner.
Well, there you go. I think that's the answer to that question. I think generally we did kind of have some talks about the raid armor. I'm not going to make a podcast just about the raid armor, though. I'm just not going to do that. Maybe like 10-minute kind of conversation, just generally about, like, you know, you can make legendary everything right now, like in the game, and you can make, you know, whether or not that's through raids or PvP or World v World. You can create something, you know, it's mostly about quality of life, and, you know, being able to go into your armory and pick your bits and bobs that you can assign to your character, pick your stats, have a look that you really like. You can do that. There was never a necessity for you to do so to increase your power in the game. That's not what Legendary is about. It's not about power. It's about convenience and look and uniqueness and journeys. Really, I mean, that's what we've been talking about. Like, you know, I've called every stream I did my legendary journey. It was literally a journey, and that's what they call it. And, you know, we're all doing the same things we go through. Like, how's your legendary journey going? And everyone's like, yeah.
I didn't call it a grind at the beginning of the episode at all.
I mean, it can be a grind for some people. I would say that I've enjoyed. Like, you know, like Rook said with their community, you know, when you got Eternity, that was like a really cool thing, like for a streamer, like, you know, getting that gift. And it was similar for me for Predator as my first one, and a load of PvPers, the European peeps that I played with, they got together and they bought me like the precursor because they knew that I wanted to craft my first one. And I was like, I said on stream as well, like, do not buy me a legendary. Like, do not do that because I want to craft it. And then they gave it to me and sent in the mail. They were like, we know you don't want us to, you want to craft it, but here is the precursor. I was like, cool, that's all right. Like, I was just like, because I was really into about this. But yeah, it was just one of those things, you know, you can create nice experiences. And the Oreen one as well, that was another one. And Hope was awesome as well. And the armor, the legendary armor, like I got proper into raiding. Like that was like an experience properly into Heart of Thorns, provisioner tokens, nightmare. But these things you have to kind of do, like just events and achievements and crafting and trading posts and all this combination of things which add up to this one weapon. It culminates in this one experience. It is genuinely fun and it is genuine. I genuinely enjoyed the ones that I've crafted. And I've crafted all of the armor, like all different classes, PvP, 2 different kinds, and then you've got the raid stuff. The raid stuff is fun as hell because it can get you into that mode even more so. And it's not all of the raids, it's just like the first 4 for armor. And then, you know, you've got other things like rings and amulets and other stuff which is available through other raids and World v World and back pieces. And I just think it's a fantastic way for you to get involved in other content because that's how the game should kind of be. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make sure that if you played a different content, like if you really enjoyed World v World and just enjoyed playing that, you could get a legendary. Not only could you do that, you could get legendary armor, back piece, you know, all those different bits and bobs. And then when you're at that point, you're like, you know what, I've got all this stuff, I might as well venture into the other game modes. Cool, all right, sweet as. So that's why I like legendaries as well. I think that's another thing.
It's an epic journey that you decide to take. It is not necessary at all. You do not need to do it. You do not need to do it. You are choosing to do it. It's your choice, and the journey you take is, it's unique as well. It's a unique experience. So I think they're great, and they're unique. And I stand by the premise of the video that I made. They are objectively the best endgame gear in any MMO. That's just. Yeah. It's not about the looks. It's not about the shinies. It's about the utility and the quality of life and the perpetual nature of them. They are not ephemeral.
Mm-hmm. You know? I agree. I honestly think that's what makes me love legendaries. And it's something where, I mean, I'm literally just making my first one right now, right? I've been playing this game for 5-6 years now, and like I'm making my very first one. And I see a lot of times that people will say, well, if Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a gear grind, then what am I even going to be working towards? Like, that's what I enjoy doing. And I honestly think it's not what we enjoy doing. I don't think that's what we enjoy doing. What we enjoy is running the content, making the memories, learning things, pushing our boundaries, trying to, you know, maybe some people are more performance driven. Maybe some people are more, you know, fashion driven or casual driven or story driven or relationship driven, whatever it is. I don't think that the reason we play MMOs is just to get one more number. It's about prestige. It's about what you've accomplished. It's about how you perform, right? So for me, I think they did an incredibly clever thing with Legendaries in Guild Wars 2, because while there is no gear treadmill, like you said, Boots, it's a gear stairway that you climb up, and it sometimes takes a really long time, and then you're there and you're good and you're done. But in no way, shape, or form does that undervalue what it means to become best in slot or have every single piece, you know, have at least one slot of every single legendary in this game, because that will take you years. Like, that will take you a long time if you're not just going to buy them right off of, you know, wherever. And if you like that and you like working towards it, I think the prestige and the utility and the other types of value that they have prescribed to legendaries in Guild Wars 2 makes them, to me, feel truly legendary. Not to mention just the sheer customization of them, the ability of being able to, you know, without consuming any what's what I'm looking for, the charges,
Transmutation
charges. You can just apply the looks. You can use them on all characters. You get the additional lore. All of that, I think, has redefined what end game gear can mean. It doesn't have to just be a number that in 2 months will not be the number you want anymore. It can have a lot of use outside of that and longevity that I think is equally rewarding.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people underestimate that in every other MMO I've ever played, people lament that as their gear gets better, the content that they do is trivialized. Yeah, even within an expansion. By the time you're doing the 5th raid of the expansion, the stuff in the 1st raid you can just face roll. That's not a thing that happens in Guild Wars 2. The only way you can face roll stuff is to learn the content and get and learn the tactics and know what to do and have the right build, right? And it's a level playing field. It's whether you like Formula 1 or Formula 2. Formula 1 is about a marriage of the best car that they can possibly produce and the driver. Formula 2 is everybody has the same car and it's all about driver skill. And most players, they wax rhapsodic about how it should always be about personal skill and your ability to play the character. So if that is your bag, then Guild Wars 2 is your game. That ethos, that mentality, I haven't seen it anywhere else. This is your game. You just don't know it yet. That's kind of my opinion.
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about this because I just did like a 25-minute video
I
on
mean,
this.
we know. I watched it. This morning. It's very good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're seeing them, even with more recent stuff, step up perhaps some of those PvE offerings. I mean, that's the thing though, like you go into a raid with a whole group of people that don't know anything. They don't know the cheats. They don't know the cheats, we say, but they are what you said, Fornax. It's learning how to use certain composition skill sets, gear sets, ability to perhaps push through certain phases of fights in raids. But it is not that the fights themselves are trivialized because we have outgeared it so much that you just blast it into oblivion. Like it is about knowledge, it is about community knowledge, baseline player skill, and other things in there. And we're starting to see more content robustly support and offer unique challenges that even with this, I think, huge gift of having a baseline of gear, they're designing more cleverly around to even push that skill and test it more. And I can't wait to see what happens with that. But I think that Guild Wars 2 has a great starting point for it because, like you said, I mean, it comes down to that skill and knowledge and how you're learning and using. And while that gear can be a huge asset, yes, if you want to speed clear and do all kinds of stuff, you are never kept from even entering the fight just because you don't meet a number. And
unless it's fractals.
Well, yes, that's true. But fractals is its own, you can go into the base, like the base normal fractals without it.
Yeah,
and then that becomes part of the actual game mode, right?
Yeah.
But that's a good point, honestly. But it's not like if somebody is an exotic gear, they cannot go into a raid. No. Or like some new content comes out, and it could even be like story content in some games, but you don't have a high enough, you're 1 point under the eye level, and you're like,
yeah. But that said, though, it's interesting because I feel like there is content, especially the earlier raids, that not trivialize, but definitely have a lower difficulty level nowadays. And that's not because of the gear, though, because the gear that we have today is the same gear that we've had since month 3 or month 4 of Guild Wars 2. Because actually Exotic was the highest skill level before Ascended came out, and Legendary was actually, Legendary stats were at Exotic level before Ascended gear came out, and then they upped it to Exotic level, to Ascended level. It's interesting little fact there. But yeah, so like gear has not changed, except for certain stat combinations, and some are more powerful than the previous ones. But like Berserker's still been around since the beginning, and Berserker's like the power be all and end all. So yeah, it's really interesting that the only thing that's been driving the difficulty things down in past content is elite specs, I'd say, and balance patches. So and gear has no effect on that really.
I think a lot of Guild Wars players also take for granted the amount of agency they have over their gear. There were literally players in World of Warcraft lining up to do a raid 7 times to get 1 drop so that they have the best in slot. So they have, like, oh my god, they had a terrible system whereby they had to get 1 drop to unlock a specific skill on their account so they could play as effectively as possible. I mean, that's terrible design. Just wow, don't do that. But we are so lucky. Our players playing Guild Wars 2 are so lucky because they have complete control. You can craft and send a bit of gear. Oh, it's not quite the stats I want. I want to try something. You toddle off to the Mystic Forge, throw some stuff in. You have the piece you want. That is unheard of. That is unheard of. And that's just on an ascended piece of gear, which is fairly basic to get, right?
Yes. And can I be real? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go.
Can I be real? After shoutcasting the Race to World First with World of Warcraft, I was astonished. Like, can I be real with everybody? I was actually astonished. Okay, I'll lie then. No, because people were, oh my gosh, what is it called? People were
DMing.
No, there's a specific word for it. What is it called?
Trolling.
No, it's where you pay people to try to fish for the drop you need.
Okay.
They're in the rating tiers in World of Warcraft, and some of you will not spinning. It's called something else. They call it like a specific term. You are running blank to try and like this. That's what you're doing. You're trying to run these to do this.
You can sell runs, yeah. You sell runs.
Yeah,
that's not catfish. No, but okay, let me explain because I can't remember the exact term for it, but let me explain what the actual process is. So we had the Race to Worlds First. These raiders literally could not meet some of the DPS checks that were required for the mythic fights because they were tuned for the optimal full gear set. So what this meant was that they were running these, insert word here, over and over and over while we were trying to shoutcast World First. Not mythics. They are called a thing. It's like they selling blank for blank. Like,
okay.
It's like these guilds that essentially are funded for Race to World First by sponsors and by other groups factor this into their budgets, both with real in-game money, with in-game money and with real cash to pay people to come into their runs of the like lower level content and try to fish for a single drop of something that they then will trade to somebody else in the instance that needs to run. And we had raiders that couldn't get the 1 drop they needed to complete their set, who were literally, they had been preparing for weeks. They had taken weeks off of work to do this Race to World First, who were benched because they couldn't get peace. And then we have these guilds paying thousands of real world dollars, more than that, honestly, to incentivize people in game to try and like just come into their runs to just try and get this drop that they needed. It's ridiculous, but because they are doing like other things where they're buying this and then they're paying players in game with that thing or this currency, it, I think, circumnavigates RMT, but I don't know for sure. But it was actually, it blew my mind. I had never witnessed something like this. And I was talking to some of the guild leads about just the actual sheer finances that went into this and how much money in game and out of game they thought that they had factored in for this, or it had cost them just to even be on the playing field with anyone else. And then you wonder why new guilds can't break into the scene, or you wonder why people get so disheartened, or it's so competitive, and the production value is astonishing, but we don't have that in Guild Wars 2.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
That's
because
so terrible. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because of the personal loot system. So they used to have a global loot system. You'd go in, you'd hit the boss, it'd drop what it dropped. And if you were in a guild, you'd have a guild leader, you'd have your dragon kill points, and you'd just be praying to the RNG gods to get the chest that you've been trying to get from Black Wing Lair forever. Yeah. Okay, never got my chest as a druid. Not that I'm salty about it at all, anyway. But now what happens is you go in and the loot is personal to you.
Yeah.
You've got your own RNG on you, but you can trade it to other people, and this is where the wheeling and dealing comes in. And people will pay to get their characters like dragged through instances, pay real money.
Yeah.
And I think they did a wave of bans in the community not so long ago because people were just taking the piss, to be honest, and circumventing their terms of service. And yeah,
It's called running splits. You run splits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just remembered, I was like, when it's like that, and then you split up the group and it splits.
We don't have that. Just all the control. We get to put what we want in our armor. We don't have to rely on the devs to have a set bonus that we like. We can pick. We have masses to pick from. Boots can be happy making all his weird builds forever ad infinitum. It's great.
It just sounds like a really shit thing to do. It just sounds fucking awful.
Yeah, Bruce's weird builds sound like awful shit. No,
not the Guild Wars 2 stuff. Sorry, the World of Warcraft stuff.
Splits. It was, and honestly, the actual raiders themselves critiqued it actively because of the system and what it meant. Because again, it was not a competition of skill, and it meant that for almost the first week of Race to Worlds First, they weren't even in there progging. They would prog a fight, and then they'd be running splits all day. And as a commentator, I can sure tell you, wasn't fun to commentate because they're just running whatever dungeon, whatever.
Did you
thing.
covered the splits as well?
Because
That's
we
not
had
right.
it was 24/7 coverage almost for a lot of these channels.
Absolute bollocks.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry. I just want to tell the story because
No,
I think the
it's
perspective.
good. Thank you for the.
It's it's like the spectrum, right? We have this kind of no, it's
You know what my
noise for
means.
but it's like. We have either end of the spectrum. We have stuff like this in WoW where the sheer RNG, the personal loot limitations, and other things like that as you try to grind a tier can literally halt anything you want to do in this game. The momentum can lock you out of something you have tried years to get with certain cases for different things. Or just mean that you end up benched for something completely out of your control. And then you have something like Guild Wars 2, where they realized, I think, some of the pitfalls of this, and sure, working towards new goals, working towards certain things, I do think that's still very important for an MMO. And then in the middle, we have a bunch of other MMOs that kind of lean one way or another, or have made certain aspects of gearing more accessible or not. But I have to say, I think Guild Wars 2 with their Legendaries has struck the best balance between effort, time, prestige, but then also offering you conveniences that still feel rewarding, but are not, driving people to to spend what could be spent on rent or charity or just to try and fish for some number that allows you to do something you want to do in a game. So I do think
money comes in, I guess.
I think it's important to look at instances where it's a shit design that fucks over players, because it makes you appreciate that we have great design that rewards players and gives them as much freedom as is humanly possible within the limitations of the game. And I think it's chalk and cheese. And I think it goes to like the ethos of the companies as well. They respect. I think there's a lot of respect for the gamers from the Guild Wars 2 devs. They don't always agree and they don't always get it right. But they care about their community and they respect them and they want to give them what they want. Because they were very hesitant about mounts. They were very hesitant about legendary gear because they wanted to preserve the community. They didn't want to have this kind of toxic loot treadmill and people having to meet a standard. And they were very careful about it. But yeah, I think World of Warcraft is a perfect example of a really good game, a really genre-defining game that has just been crushed by terrible systems implemented when in complete affront to the player base. And I'm very happy that Guild Wars 2 exists to prove that it does not have to be the case. Sorry,
I'm just banning someone. There we go. Cool.
Did I just bore you all into unconsciousness?
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
I just had to burn some.
No, Boots is
burn
just
some.
thinking about dinner and the din. He's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
make
okay.
here in a second.
No, you're right though. Like everyone's like, it's important to say. I think people realize that, and I think people. There is I think in World of Warcraft and other games created this ethos of like, you know, grind and the word grind as well, you know, and grind is always, you know, just been one of those words that is just not seen as a positive, you know, in many different aspects. But, you know, I think Guild Wars 2 essentially can be, and people say, you know, like Rook says, if you can't grind for anything, what am I doing in the game? And it's like, well, you know, maybe you're playing the game for different reasons, and those are good reasons to play the game as well. And legendaries aren't easy to get. Like, you have to do a lot of work to get them. You still do, and there are a lot of them. And the legendary Gen 2, you know, journeys are pretty long. But you have to play the story. It's not just about getting items. It's not about just mind-numbingly playing the game to get, you know, different crafting materials. It's not just about that. And, you know, there are people that do like that kind of stuff. And, you know, I don't know why. But, you know, I'm just joking about that. We all have the things we enjoy. But, like, it is... That World of Warcraft thing is mind-blowing for me. And I'm just like... Part of me was thinking... I kind of wanted to go and play Lich King because I know that expansion was, like... so beloved by the World of Warcraft community, but now I'm just like, oh, I just don't even want to touch that again. And also I just have issues with Blizzard as well, to be fair. But
I mean, if you have moral issues, but Wrath of Lich King is a fantastic expansion. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
Anyway, conversation going away from where I intended it to. No, that was my fault. I was the one who said it. But yeah, I think we're going to end it there. I don't want to go on for, I'm trying not to make these go on for like, you know, 4 or 5 hours, which is what they used to do, but they've been getting down to 3 hours, which, you know, I think is pretty good for a podcast.
Oh, fuck off, Moth.
There's no way, thank you. There's no way for...
How do you know my nickname was Moth?
What's that thing in Star Wars? But yes, we're going to end it there. Unless anyone wants to add something really urgent to... I will add something as well. They have dropped... Rinne dropped a balance patch.
Oh my god, I gotta look at that. It's huge, apparently.
We're not going through it.
It is huge, apparently. We're not going through it. We can't do it.
I will give you some tidbits, though. Some very, very awesome little tidbits for...
we should take some of our stuff out of context, by the way. Because I did just say, oh my god, I need to look at that. It's huge, apparently. And I feel like we probably have a lot of moments on the show where we say things that could be taken out of context, and it would be very good.
We do that all the time.
This is a great content idea, Boots, and I love it. Yeah, we'll start out of context clips.
We literally do that all the time, and I've got the clips on my Instagram of you lot talking, and my TikTok, and you're all on there talking about this stuff all the time. Just so you know, sometimes, I wonder. Also, you're on technically my channel, so that happens just automatically. I was going to say, yes, so tidbit, just from the raid thing. Ellies and Druids are getting some more utility heals for raids. Like, awesome stuff. I just saw they're like adding stability for Druid. And Tempest just got a shed load of buffs, like ridiculousness, because I don't want Mechanist and Hillbrand to just be the sole things in there. So that looks good. There's loads of change in there. Go and check it out. Rudy can probably link that in the thing as people are asking. So there's a glyph on Druid called Glyph of Equality. It breaks stun, but I think it's gonna have the addition.
Oh, we
gotta
go through the balance patch now?
No, I just talked one ability.
Wow.
That's all
Jebro, I posted the link in chat and I got timed out.
Oh shit!
Oh, it's because you're not sub.
God.
Only
So
subs can.
sorry.
It's the safety thing.
Wow.
That was a bot. That wasn't us. That was a bot.
Wow, Jebro, why did you personally time me out in the chat?
Yeah, I know.
Gosh. All right.
Criminal. Okay, other than that, we're gonna go. But go and read the blog post. I might do a quick video on YouTube. We'll see. But it's all good. It's okay. Just joking. Don't worry. Don't take it seriously, Mark. It's okay. Okay. Host knows. Well, maybe you should give them a sub then, Obi. Okay, peeps. Thank you so much for watching the LightBringers podcast. I know it felt like it was a little bit all over the shop, but today, you know, maybe we're just there, and that's okay. We talked about Legendaries, and we talked about the game that we love, and that's all I want to ever do on these podcasts. Enjoy ourselves. We've had 3 awesome guests. We've had Rookery, we've had Boots, we've also had Fornax. Fornax, tell us what you do, where you do it. See yourself for a moment.
Hi, I'm Fornax. I make Guild Wars 2 videos and other MMO videos. Oh, shush. And I've just made a Legendary video. Please go and watch it. And that's it. And my computer's literally on fire now.
What is the address of your YouTube channel?
Oh, just type in the Crichton Herald into YouTube and it'll take you there. That's it.
Or really type it anywhere in.
We said in deal.
Anywhere, as I said last time.
Anywhere on the whole internet. You just like on the
Apart
internet.
from OnlyFans. No, that's not me on OnlyFans.
Message one of your friends. Message one of your friends that doesn't play Guild Wars 2 and say, "Hey, where do I find the Crichton Herald?" And they will know. They will know.
They will always. Yeah. MySpace. Definitely. Is that still a thing? I don't know. Yes,
still.
okay. Yeah, not Facebook. Cesspool. No. Anyway. Do you want me to say anything else?
No, you can say whatever you want. It's your selling your moment. It's your moment. This is your moment. Okay, so Boots, next. Thank you very much, Fornax, for coming onto the show as well. I'm sorry about your technical issues.
Oh, I am Boots on World of Enders on YouTube and on Twitter. Boots _ on Twitch, and I'm doing stuff as always.
Excellent. Congratulations on the stuff that you are doing.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on to today's show. Last but not least, Rookery is back. Hello. And also, what do you do? Where you do it? And yes.
I actually prepared a 5-page speech for all of you, a heartfelt speech tonight that I'm going to read for the next hour and a half.
I'm so pleased that you are so good at jokes.
First of all.
Wow.
All right, well, that's fine. No, I'll keep all my thoughts about how wonderful you all are. I'm thinking to myself.
I was worried that I get really self-conscious when people compliment me, and I couldn't. I don't think I was going to be able to deal with that. You understand?
Okay, all right. I'll directly message it to you, so that you can read your section and you can go make dinner. But I am Rook, aka Rookery, ROOKURI. Spelled a little differently than you might think. But you can find me on Twitch at Rookery. You can find me on YouTube at Rookery, and you can find me on Twitter, Rookery _. I do technically have an Instagram, but I only sometimes use it, so don't rely on it as anything official. But the rest, pretty good to go. Play a lot of MMOs, particularly Final Fantasy 14, Guild Wars 2. We have some fun stuff coming up, some sponsored streams next week, and a bunch of other stuff, some fun giveaways coming up here very shortly. I just got back from vacation, so if you're around, come by, say hello. Always happy to see people or get to chat, whether it be in comments or live.
Wow, I thought you had an hour and a half to go.
And now I will read my...
Thank you. Boots. B stands for beautiful.
No, god
the
damn,
O stands
Jesus,
for...
no. Okay, thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you watch on YouTube. If you got this far, I know the average time isn't 3 hours for watching these videos, but maybe you skipped to the outro because you wanted to follow everyone, and you should do. If you go into the link below, if you want to check out their content, they will have links. You have links to their buying the game and all the things as well. Make sure you please go and check out my friends. They are very, very awesome. They are, in fact,
legendary.
Not the voice I was hoping to go.
What?
It was one of the...
What is that? I cannot even understand a single thing you're saying. Legendary. Oh, I see. You were trying to do the epic voice.
That's better.
Okay.
That was better. There you go. Sorry, that's my Molag Bald voice. Legendary.
You just cut off there.
Yeah, it's cutting you off because it was too powerful.
I know, it's too powerful. Okay. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. Make sure you look at everyone's stuff. And sorry, it's getting worse, so we're gonna go. Please check out my channel, twitch.tv/JebroUnity, which is where this is hosted most weeks. It's gonna be on for the next couple of weeks because I have graduated. I was gonna say high school. What the fuck? I've graduated from university, and we've finished, and the internship's done. So I'm done, and I'm gonna be a counsellor soon, which is very cool. So make sure that you come and check out the channel and all the things in between, because there will be a little bit more going on. Not much. But yeah, it's been awesome. It's been good. Great show. Good job, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. And we'll see you next time on the LightBringers podcast. And go.